Chapter 336. You have a way to get in? Yi Huanyan's eyes lit up, and she could see things much more clearly. Chun-Yin patted her chest. Of course. When they arrived at the castle, Yi Huanyan and Zheng Ro looked around at the ruins and looked at Chun-Yin in disbelief. You said that you can get in by climbing over the wall? Chun-Yin raised her eyebrows and said matter-of-factly, of course. Last year, when we came here for the competition, we played for half a month. Every few days, we would go there to play. Every time we came, the castle would be heavily guarded. They said that some Eastern European royal family lived there, and they wouldn't let us in. My senior brother Lung and I couldn't accept it. Why can't we enter? I heard that this used to be a scenic spot. You can climb up, but we can't get down. Yi Huanyan's mouth stiffened, and she looked helpless. It's okay. There's a big grassland below. This castle is very warm. There's heating under the walls, and it's like spring all year round in winter. Chun-Yin sat on the wall and described the scenery vividly. Yi Huanyan and Zheng Ro looked at each other. They shouldn't have trusted this girl. Hey, what are you two hesitating for? No one will find this place. No, I don't think that's good. Yi Huanyan frowned. While they were talking, a few silhouettes, holding flashlights, appeared from the fog in the distance. They seemed to have heard the commotion on their side as they spoke in an incomprehensible language. In a moment of desperation, Zheng Ro snatched the bag from Yi Huanyan's hand, took out the script, and handed it to Chen-Ing, who was on the wall. She said, "Give this to Guanai. It's all up to you." Without waiting for Yi Huanyan to say anything, Chen-Ing had already accepted the script. She sat on top of the wall in a daze for a few seconds. Before the patrolling guards noticed her, she jumped over the wall. Yi Huanyan's bag was rummaged through. The lipstick in the bag fell to the ground. She was scrambling to pick it up when she was caught by the patrol team. They treated her as a thief and took her to the security room. The guards didn't seem to understand English. They were mumbling in an unknown language. Zheng Ro and Yi Huanyan could only stay in the security room and wait for the guide, who understood the local language, to come over. They could not go anywhere. Originally, it was very late for lunch after the competition. Now that they had gone out for a long walk, the sky was already completely dark. Yi Huanyan was worried that something would happen to Chen-Yin if she ran into the castle alone. Just as she was panicking, her phone suddenly rang. She thought it was a guide, so she picked it up without even looking. "Have you arrived?" The other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds. "How did you know I was here?" This low voice was very familiar to Yi Huanyan, but it did not belong to the guide. "You? Why are you here?" "You brought Sun Yanhua to Iceland. Due to the division of labor between you and me, I had no choice but to come along. I'm at the hotel now. Where are you?" Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. "I'm at the castle." "The castle? Have you seen Guan Nai?" "No, I'm in their security room." After hanging up the phone, Yi Huanyan felt that the heavens were playing a joke on her. She had originally planned to appear in front of Ling Han as the all-powerful second young miss of the Gu family, but in the end, she did not show her strength. During the most difficult time of being besieged on the island, he found out about it, and now she had to wait for him to come to her rescue. The people in the security room saw that Yi Huanyan kept calling and were getting impatient. They mumbled something to her and reached out to grab her phone. At this moment, the phone was her life. Yi Huanyan was determined not to give it to them. Just as they were tearing, a cold wind suddenly blew in. The door to the security room opened and a white-bearded foreign old man in a suit walked in. He looked very gentlemanly and polite. After he came in, he said something to the security guard who tried to grab the phone. The security guard glanced at Yi Huanyan and returned her phone. He faced the door and gestured for Yi Huanyan and Zheng Ro to enter. The old man did not seem to speak English. Yi Huanyan followed him and gestured for a long time, but still failed to ask him where he was taking her. After entering the castle, they walked through 5 or 6 doors and finally walked into a building. After going up 2 floors, Yi Huanyan and Zheng Ro were brought into a heated room. "Madam, The guests are here. Hearing this sentence in authentic Mandarin, Yi Huanyan realized that the old man did not speak Mandarin at all. He deliberately ignored her all the way. And when she saw the woman in the room, the anger in her heart that wanted to question the old man immediately subsided. Guan Nai. She cried out in surprise. The woman was sitting on a black leather sofa. She was wearing a light silk nightgown and a large snow fox coat. She was lying on a pure white cashmere blanket. Her long black hair was casually tied up behind her head, and a few strands of hair hung over her temples. She looked very languid, but also had a languid charm. She looked up and sized up Yi Huanyan and Zhang Rou. "The girl who climbed over the wall is your friend?" Yi Huanyan shielded Zhang Rou behind her and nodded. "It's our fault for climbing over the wall. We apologize." Guan Nai's eyes flickered. She suddenly laughed, as if she did not care. "You wrote this script?" She raised one arm and leaned against the pillow. She waved the script in her other hand. Yi Huanyan nodded. "You want me to act?" Yi Huanyan nodded again. This time, she looked very certain. Guan Nai suddenly stood up. She stood barefoot on the blanket and walked towards Yi Huanyan. Her waistcoat slipped to the ground. The wide lotus-leaf sleeves made her look as beautiful as a fairy. "You really wrote this script yourself?" She suddenly approached. There was a mysterious orchid fragrance on her body that refreshed the mind. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and felt uneasy for no reason. "Yes. If you think it's not good, I can change it according to your opinion." The room fell silent. Guan Nai's eyes suddenly shone with a strange light. She took one of Yi Huanyan's hands. Although her tone was cold, it gave people a feeling of enthusiasm. "Why didn't you show me such a good script earlier? Why didn't you come earlier? I was bored to death." Yi Huanyan was stunned. She was flattered by Guan Nai's intimate reaction. "You accepted it? You agreed?" she asked in a daze. "Of course." Guan Nai blinked and revealed a playful expression. She explained, "Most romance dramas are written with nonsense. Your script is different. I like it. I'll take it." There were too many twists and turns today. She was dazzled and caught off guard. Yi Huanyan suppressed her excitement. She looked around and said hesitantly, "Then can you let my friend go first?" As they were talking, the door opened from the direction of the bedroom. Chun-In was standing at the door. Her long hair was wet. She had changed into pajamas similar to Guan Nai's. They were a little short and looked stretched. She was drying her hair with a towel. When she saw Yi Huanyan and Zhang Rou in the room, she explained helplessly, "I don't know when a small pool was built. When I jumped in, half of my body was flooded. Luckily, the script wasn't wet. I didn't delay your work, did I?" Chapter 337. Don't tell me you approached someone else first, but that person didn't have the time, so you came to me? Guan Nai flipped through the script on the chaise lounge, asking Yi Huanyan a few questions about the movie every now and then. Yi Huanyan quickly waved her hand when she heard this. "I only approach you. I asked President Ling to send the script to you, but I didn't get a reply, so I came here myself." "President Ling?" Guan Nai looked up and glanced at her. "Ling Han?" Yi Huanyan nodded. On the side, Zhang Rou was drinking tea. When she lowered her head and heard the two words Ling Han, her eyes froze. Guan Nai stared at the script thoughtfully for a while. She seemed to have thought of something, and her face suddenly fell. She closed the script and said softly, "That idiot." Yi Huanyan frowned in confusion. She didn't understand what she meant, but she was sure that the script hadn't been in her hands before she came. Guan Nai didn't seem to want to explain. She flipped open the script and discussed the details of the shoot with her. The fire in the fireplace burned brightly, and it was snowing outside the window. The entire castle looked very romantic. Zhang Rou drank her milk tea uneasily. She glanced at Yi Huanyan from time to time with a complicated look in her eyes. Among the four of them, only Chun-In was not distracted. She wolfed down all kinds of exquisite snacks in the room, as if she had not eaten for a few days. She pointed at the burning fireplace and asked, "It's already the 21st century, and you're still burning fire for warmth. How retro. Guan Nai glanced at her and said mildly, "That's just a decoration. There's floor heating here." After this reminder, Yi Huanyan realized that the fire in the fireplace was just a projection of light. It wasn't a real fire. Just as they were chatting, the butler who had brought Yi Huanyan and Zeng Ro in knocked on the door and whispered something into Guan Nai's ear. Guan Nai slumped back onto the sofa and sighed secretly. How boring. The butler looked at Yi Huanyan. Miss Gu needs to rest. You should leave. It was already late at night. Yi Huanyan looked at Guan Nai apologetically. Sorry to disturb you. It's okay. Guan Nai waved her hand nonchalantly. I'm not sleepy. I sleep a lot during the day. If I didn't have something to attend to today, we could continue talking about the script. Come find me tomorrow at 2:00 p.m. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan nodded and got up to leave. Thank you so much. The moment she got up, Zeng Ro and Chun-In followed suit. Chun-In was still holding a bunch of snacks in her arms. She asked shamelessly, Miss Guan, can I take these with me? Guan Nai nodded with a smile and glanced at the butler. Bring more snacks for her. Chun-In followed the butler to get the snacks. Zeng Ro was afraid that she would run away, so he followed as well. Yi Huanyan was the last to leave. When they reached the door, they suddenly heard Guan Nai's voice. You give me the feeling that I've seen you somewhere before. Yi Huanyan paused in the act of closing the door. When she turned around, the corners of her mouth curved upwards. Maybe it's because we hit it off with each other. When Yi Huanyan and the others left, a tall and straight figure walked out from another door of the ancient castle. He went straight into Guan Nai's room with a cold aura around him. I thought you wouldn't want to see me. The man's deep voice echoed in the room. Guan Nai glanced at him and adjusted the cloak on her body. If you hadn't betrayed me back then, would he have known that I was hiding here every year? It's all because of you that I'm trapped in this dark place. If I'm still willing to see you under this kind of hatred, then I'm really magnanimous. Ling Han's face stiffened slightly. He explained, it was an emergency back then. Besides, as long as you want to go out, no one will stop you. They're just here to protect you. Who needs their protection? There are only so many people on this island. You're crazy. Guan Nai's eyes flashed with impatience. What are you doing here? If you're here because of President Gu and the script, she has already discussed it with me. I'll go back to China with her to attend the opening ceremony. Ling Han frowned. Did you tell William about this? Why should I tell him about my business? But he told me that you're already 2 months pregnant. Ling Han's cold voice echoed in the room. It was a little worried and concerned. Guan Nai's voice disappeared for a few seconds. She pulled the blanket on her body, leaned against the pillow, and closed her eyes. I like this script. It has nothing to do with whether I have a child or not. The plan won't change. If you want to tell him, then go ahead. It's not the first time you've done this kind of thing, anyway. Ling Han looked at the sleeping posture of the woman lying on the sofa behind the coffee table and sighed silently in his heart. Consider it as me owing you. I will help you keep the matter of your filming a secret. As for how long I can keep a secret, it will depend on when he comes here to see you. Hearing this, the woman on the sofa suddenly opened her eyes. There was a faint light in her eyes. Don't worry. If I don't agree to let him come, he won't dare come. When Ling Han left, Guan Nai turned her body so that her back was facing him. She said in a muffled voice, if you like someone, you have to let her know that you like her. That way, when she's in the rain and wind, she'll feel warm when she thinks about how someone used to like her. The way you did things in the past, only a stupid woman like her would be so devoted to you. Ling Han held onto the round white door handle, and there was a thick layer of grief between his brows. There's no point in saying these things now. He closed the door so hastily that he did not hear the 2 words that were drowned out by the sound of the door closing. Not necessarily. Guan Nai frowned as she looked at the tightly shut door. Fog Island Hotel. After returning from the castle, Zeng Ro had been a little worried. As soon as she arrived at the hotel, She said that she had left something at the hot pot restaurant and had to go back to get it. Only Yi Huanyan went back to her room alone. The hot pot restaurant was next to the hotel. Although it was the middle of the night, she was not worried that something would happen to Zheng Ro. So Yi Huanyan went back by herself. Because she had finished talking about the script with Guan Ai, she was in a good mood. She went back to the hotel room and took a shower. When she came out of the shower, she heard the doorbell ring. Wearing a thick bathrobe, she tied the belt around her waist and went to open the door. "Where's Xiaoro?" As soon as she opened the door, Sun Yanhua rushed into the room. He looked around and impatiently looked for Xiaoro. Yi Huanyan was left standing at the door. A furry little head was in her arms. "Mommy." Her eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. "Make a scene? Why are you here?" Naaneo looked up from her arms and blinked. "Jingjing and Jingjing's father brought me here. I told them that my mommy was here too, but they didn't believe me." Yi Huanyan held her son and looked at the little figure standing at the door in surprise. The little girl had two Nezhakyu tattoos on her forehead. She was looking at her curiously with her head tilted. Chapter 338. "Hello, Auntie. I'm Lu Jingru, Guyao's classmate. You can call me Jingjing." The little girl took the initiative to greet her, acting like a little adult. Yi Huanyan's mind was a little confused. Although it was a surprise that her son fell from the sky, it was also a shock. She didn't think that her son would be so bold as to follow a stranger all the way here. How did he get his visa and passport? The two children were very calm, and in contrast, she was at a loss. Sun Yanhua's voice came from the room. "Xiaoro isn't here?" Yi Huanyan came back to her senses and led the two children into the house. As she walked, she explained, "She went to the hot pot restaurant next door to get something and will be back in a while." "Why are you here? Didn't you do as I told you?" Sun Yanhua frowned. "I want to see Xiaoro first. I have something to say to her." Even if you have something to say, it doesn't stop you from creating a romantic surprise first. Yi Huanyan was a little helpless. She asked the two children to sit on the sofa and gave them a bunch of snacks. Then she poured a cup of tea and handed it to Sun Yanhua. The two of them sat across from each other on the coffee table and talked about how to calm Zheng Ro down. Her plan sounded good, but Sun Yanhua was a little confused. "Why are you helping me?" She was neither a relative nor a friend, but she went through so much trouble to help him coax his wife. It made him feel uneasy. "Because I want you to be the male lead in my movie." Yi Huanyan's answer was very straightforward. Under the situation where Sun Yanhua didn't know her identity, everything was based on the exchange of benefits. It was the easiest way to make him let down his guard. After chatting, Yi Huanyan found out that Jingjing was the classmate that Naaneo had mentioned before she came to Iceland. After she boarded the plane, Naaneo followed the little girl home. Sun Yanhua had seen Naaneo in kindergarten and took the initiative to contact the people at Haiyan Media. In the end, he couldn't stand Naaneo's pestering and had to let him stay at his house. Later, when he wanted to come to Iceland, he was worried about leaving Jingjing alone at home. Naaneo also insisted on coming, so he brought both of them along. It was to repay Yi Huanyan for helping him take care of Zheng Ro during this time. "Gucci didn't call me either. Naaneo must have given you a lot of trouble, right?" "I told him not to call." Sun Yanhua smiled. "If I tell you, I'm afraid it will affect your work here. Anyway, I don't have much to do these 2 days. It's good to spend time with the child." After talking about the child, they talked about the theme song. Sun Yanhua played a sample for her. The conversation between the two of them was very familiar, without the awkwardness of strangers talking to each other. Jingjing held a piece of biscuit in her hand and looked at Yi Huanyan. She asked in a childish voice, "Auntie, are you good friends with my daddy?" Yi Huanyan and Sun Yanhua were both stunned. Yi Huanyan spoke first. She gave Jingjing a gentle smile. "Auntie and your daddy didn't know each other before, but we feel very familiar with each other. So, we're kind of friends who regret not meeting sooner. Maybe we'll become good friends in the future." "I see." Jingjing nibbled on the biscuit with a sweet and obedient look on her face. Yi Huanyan couldn't help but pat her little head. Daughters are the best. Jingjing is so cute. Zheng Ro walked down the corridor with a bag of supper. When she reached the door, she was about to knock, but found that the door wasn't closed. The familiar laughter in the room made her freeze. Auntie will be a family in the future. The daughter she loved the most, the husband she cared about the most, was laughing in front of another woman. She suddenly thought of what Remy said to her the other day. Mr. Gu from Haiyan Media takes good care of Brother Hua. It might be a little interesting, but don't think too much about it. Although the industry is messy, Brother Hua is an artist from pleasure. Even Mr. Gu from Haiyan Media has to give Mr. Ling some face. You can trust Brother Hua's character. He was just teased by the boss of Xinyu Media at a dinner party, and he couldn't wait to avoid Mr. Gu. He couldn't even talk about a collaboration. She trusted her husband's character. But he should have stayed on the other side of the ocean. Now he was crossing the ocean with his child and chatting happily with other women. And he had never talked so confidently in front of her. The bag of snacks in his hand fell to the ground with a pa sound. In the room, Yi Huanyan's smile froze slightly. She vaguely heard the sound coming from the door. Instinctively, she looked in the direction of the door. Outside the crack of the door, 2 boxes of desserts fell out of a white paper bag. She quickly stood up and walked to the door. When she opened the door and saw the familiar logo on the desserts, her face fell. It's Xiaoro. Sun Yanhua followed behind her. When he heard that, his face froze. What did you say? Yi Huanyan picked up the paper bag that fell on the floor and frowned. These are the desserts Guan Nai gave us when we went to the castle to look for her. Little Wu probably gave this to Xiaoro. You're saying that Xiaoro was at the door just now? Sun Yanhua's eyes darkened. He looked stunned. Then she must have misunderstood something. Yi Huanyan's frown deepened. When he heard that, Sun Yanhua's eyes froze. He stared blankly at Yi Huanyan for a few seconds before he suddenly turned around and left. Where are you going? It's too late. I have to find her and bring her back. Yi Huanyan chased after Sun Yanhua and turned around. She opened her arms and blocked his way. Even if you go, you won't be able to find her. I'll go. We'll carry out the original plan, as I said. Seeing Sun Yanhua's hesitant expression, Yi Huanyan patiently said, You just got here. You don't know where she'll go. I know better. Besides, this island isn't big. I'm sure I can find her. I'll leave my son to you. Sun Yanhua looked at Yi Huanyan skeptically. Don't think about it. Whoever started the trouble should end it. Since she misunderstood me, I'll explain it to her myself. It's far more useful than you running there like a headless fly. When night fell, the foggy island was covered in fog. Looking for someone at night was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Yi Huanyan asked Chen Yin to split up and search the entire island. After searching for half an hour, the two of them contacted each other on the phone, but to no avail. Chen Yin panted on the other end of the phone. We've searched everywhere, but we couldn't find her. Also, there are many places on this island that have curfews at night. No one is allowed to enter. Could she have gone to the castle? I'll go look around the castle. As she spoke, the phone beside her ear vibrated. A new call came in. Wait a minute. I got a call. Maybe there's news from the hotel. With that said, Yi Huanyan switched the phone mode. A deep voice came from the other end of the phone. Where are you? This familiar voice reminded her that she seemed to have called someone to the castle, but forgot to tell him that she had already come out. I'm sorry. I'm not in the castle anymore. Don't tell me you're still. You think I'm still looking for you in the castle? Ling Han's tone was contemptuous. Second Miss Gu, you think too highly of yourself. Where are you now? I found Zheng Ro. Chapter 339. Ling Han's voice had already diverted Yi Huanyan's attention to the castle, but his words refocused her attention. You found Xiaoro. Ling Han's deep voice came from the other end of the phone. There was no emotion in his voice, as if he was just acting as a messenger, telling her all the clues he knew. According to the surveillance camera at the entrance of the hotel, she took the hotel's night shuttle bus in the direction of a polar glacier. It's too late now, so stay where you are and don't move. I'll pick you up and take you to the glacier. Yi Huanyan immediately refused. No, you can go directly to the glacier. I'm not far from there, so I'll take a taxi there. After that, she hung up the phone without waiting for Ling Han's response. She waved for a taxi by the roadside and switched to Chen Yin's line. Xiao Wu, there's no need to go to the castle. Go directly to the hotel and inform Sun Yinhua to carry out the plan ahead of time. Ask him to take the child and meet me at the polar glacier. On the other end of the phone, Chen Yin scratched her head blankly. Huh. At the entrance of the hotel, Ling Han frowned as he stared at the phone that was hung up. He felt inexplicably angry. How bold was this woman? She was in a foreign country, and she was taking a taxi in the middle of the night. Wasn't she afraid at all? At the polar glacier, night fell, and the sky was filled with stars. The temperature at the edge of the glacier was more than 10 degrees below zero, which was unbearable. After midnight, the tourists started to disperse, leaving behind only the uncanny workmanship of nature. Yi Huanyan got out of the car and went straight to the spot where she had taken photos with Zhang Rou. She should have thought of this place earlier, but fortunately, Ling Han had reminded her. Under the starry sky, an orange-yellow figure was shivering in the cold wind. A choked voice came from the fog, and it seemed to be in great pain. Xiao Rou, Yi Huanyan shouted anxiously. Is that you, Xiao Rou? The figure shrank back and sobbed. Don't come over. Yi Huanyan quickly followed up. I'm not going over. We'll just stand here. You don't have to move. Can you say a few words? What are you doing here? Zhang Rou's voice was choked with sobs. She clearly wanted to blame her, but she did not have much of an imposing manner. You've known my husband for a long time, and you also know who I am. Why did you hide it from me? Is it fun to treat me like a fool? You misunderstood. Yi Huanyan hurriedly explained. I swear, there is absolutely nothing between me and Lu Shen that can't be revealed or that I've let you down. You even know that his name is Lu Shen? Thinking of the two of them chatting in the hotel room, Zhang Rou suddenly burst into tears. You two have known each other for a long time, haven't you? Seeing her bawling like this, Yi Huanyan could not help but recall that 5 years ago, at the entrance of a concert venue, she had first seen her crying louder than the security guard's loudspeaker. She had successfully attracted her attention, and in the end, she had facilitated her marriage with Sun Yinhua. By a freak combination of factors, she was the one who had been misunderstood. What was going on? I've known him for a long time. I've known you for a long time too, Miss Xiao Rou from Tieba. Yi Huanyan's voice penetrated the layers of fog and intermittently entered Zhang Rou's ears amidst her sobs. She was stunned and took 2 steps back in disbelief. How did you know my Tieba name? You don't need to know how I know all this. I just want to tell you that Lu Shen loves you very much, the kind of love that you didn't expect. The love he has for you is no less than the love he has for your daughter. As for the dead woman you mentioned, to him, she's just a past. Zhang Rou bit her lip, feeling more and more confused. What makes you say that? Didn't you say that you can't win against a dead person? Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and slowly approached her from the fog. Then if I tell you that the person is not dead, will you feel better? Not dead. Zhang Rou's face stiffened. What do you mean? You didn't hear wrong. That person is not dead. Yi Huanyan made up her mind and was ready to confess directly. However, after she spoke, she glanced at a figure behind her from the corner of her eye. Perhaps she couldn't see clearly in the fog, but she definitely recognized that person's scent. She changed the topic. Maybe she's in another place, alive and well. You can tell this to Lu Shen as it is. I think as long as you mention her to him, Lu Shen will definitely help you untie the knot in your heart. At that time, you'll understand how much he loves you. In the depths of the fog, there were suddenly spots of light in the distance, and a familiar song could be heard. A snow lotus on a mountain in the distance. Zhang Rou's face was filled with shock. It's Lu Shun, go. Yi Huanyan had already walked in front of her and smiled at her. I think all the misunderstandings need you to ask him personally, and then he will explain it to you personally. Zheng Ro looked hesitantly at Yi Huanyan. She seemed to have made up her mind before she walked in the direction of the song. After taking 2 steps, she turned back and asked, "You said that she's still alive. What do you mean? You've seen her?" "I guess so." In order to dispel her concerns, Yi Huanyan could only force herself to nod. After Zheng Ro walked away, a tall figure walked out from behind the snow. He walked in front of Yi Huanyan in 2 or 3 steps and blocked her path. "What did you mean by what you said just now? She's still alive? Where is she?" In the fog, Ling Han's eyes were full of frost, but Yi Huanyan caught a glimpse of a burning passion. That was the desire to live, the anticipation of hope. It was rare for her to be so calm. Perhaps it was because she already knew that he was hiding behind the snow, but she was careful when she spoke to Zheng Ro. She was also prepared to be questioned by him. Perhaps this was not the right time, but this was the moment she wanted to tell him the most, even if she was not ready to use this identity to acknowledge him. In the cold night, hearing her hoarse voice, only she knew how sincere she was. "Right in front of you." She stared into Ling Han's eyes with a burning gaze. Ling Han looked into her eyes, and his eyes suddenly narrowed. It was as if he wanted to see through her soul, to find a trace of truth in this woman who was full of lies. His voice was low and hoarse, as if it was very difficult to speak. "What did you say?" Yi Huanyan looked at him, sizing her up, and finally a crack appeared in her calm emotions. She revealed her usual calm and hypocritical smile, which was captivating. "It's just a joke. You didn't take it seriously, did you?" She lowered her head and adjusted her collar. She sniffed and glanced at Ling Han lightly. The tip of her nose was slightly red. "It's just to give a person in a marriage crisis some hope in life. If President Ling can't understand such a small trick, I'm going to suspect that Pleasure Group has a mastermind behind all these years." Hearing her words, Ling Han's eyes were filled with coldness. Finally, he held her shoulders and coldly questioned, "Gu Huanyan, I don't like this kind of joke." Chapter 340. I don't like it very much. Those 4 words were filled with coldness as they swept over her. Yi Huanyan struggled, but she realized that she couldn't break free from his shackles. She steeled her heart and gritted her teeth. "Isn't she just a dead person? Why are you still thinking about her? Can't you cherish the people who are alive? Let go of me. If you like her, then I'm her." As soon as she finished speaking, she saw that Ling Han's eyes were red, and the veins on his forehead were popping out. The knuckles of his hands that were holding her shoulders were turning white. That sorrowful look made Yi Huanyan's heart clench for no reason. At that moment, she really wanted to muster up the courage to confess everything. She wanted to tell him everything that had happened in the past 5 years. Even if she had to tear her heart apart and start all over again, she wouldn't hesitate. But in the end, he didn't wait for her to speak. "You're not her." After saying that, Yi Huanyan felt the weight on her shoulders loosen. Then, she saw his figure disappear into the fog. She didn't know how Ling Han was so sure that her identity wasn't Yi Huanyan. She only knew that when Ling Han turned around and left, he didn't believe her. That made her feel even more conflicted about confessing. Even if a person's appearance and personality changed, would she still be the same person even if she returned to you? If you loved everything about the original person, then everything about that person had to start all over again, leaving only a so-called soul that couldn't be seen or touched. But it was a soul that had been tempered thousands of times and was reborn from the ashes. Would you still love everything about her? Or would you only love the part of her that had survived? On this side of the heart was full of devastation, but on the other side, there was always joy. After Chen-In sent the text to Yi Huanyan's phone, she had already flagged down a taxi by the roadside and was heading straight back to the hotel. When she saw the words "Mission Complete" appear on her phone screen, she forced a smile and replied, "Okay." Then she closed her eyes and leaned against the back of the chair to rest. She hadn't felt tired in the past few days in Iceland, But the conversation she had with Ling Han just now made her feel both physically and mentally exhausted. In the past 5 years, Gu Sinian had asked her many times if she was willing to contact Ling Han. As long as she was willing, Gu Sinian had the ability to make Ling Han come to her immediately. Whether it was on his own initiative or tied up, no matter what method he used, she would see him. But all these years, she was unwilling to look at that face in the mirror that she couldn't bear to look at anymore. Now that the operation was successful, it seemed that all the reasons had become excuses. However, she suddenly realized that for the past 5 years, she had only used her face as an excellent excuse to refuse to reunite with him. He couldn't tell what he was afraid of. Perhaps when he saw something he liked, he would always have the greatest happiness and satisfaction. But when he really had the right to own such a thing, he began to worry about the gains and losses. 5 years ago, she was Ling Han's legitimate wife, but there was an unresolvable hatred between her and Ling Han. This hatred might have been resolved with her car accident. But now, if she were to turn back, it might be another tragedy. She couldn't predict it, and she didn't dare to try it. She didn't dare to try it, but she also didn't want to let it go easily. So, with this new identity, it was contradictory, but natural to contact him. When she returned to the hotel room, she saw that Zhang Ro and Sun Yanhua had sent a text message saying thank you. She replied good night and went into the bathroom. The dense steam washed away the coldness on her body. After the shower, she climbed into bed and hugged her son, who was like a small stove, in her arms. Only then did she truly feel a sense of security. In another single suite on the same floor, Ling Han stood in front of the bed after his shower and changed into a bathrobe. He overlooked the night view of the island. It was foggy, so he couldn't see clearly. The words of the woman on the glacier just now kept repeating in his mind. Right in front of you, he couldn't believe that for a moment. He actually believed that cunning woman. Such a cheap lie. He couldn't find any similarities between the two people, so he actually wavered for a moment. How could it be her? Thinking of this, he laughed self-deprecatingly. He raised his head and drank the red wine in the glass. His eyes were full of sadness. Since she left, there was no one by his side that he could trust. The next day, Sun Yanhua took his wife sightseeing on the island early in the morning to make up for the 5 years of honeymoon that he owed her. Early in the morning, Yi Huanyan was woken up by banging on the door. When she opened the door with disheveled hair, a warm little girl was stuffed into her arms. Immediately, she heard Zhang Ro's pleading voice. Yen Yen, Jie, do me a favor. My husband and I are going out to play. Aren't you going to the castle? Bring Jing Jing with you. It's better to bring one more. Before she could react, Zhang Ro had already disappeared around the corner of the corridor. Yi Huanyan lowered her head and looked at the little girl who was sleeping soundly in her arms. She yawned, then skillfully adjusted the little girl's jacket and looked in the direction that Zhang Ro had disappeared in. A faint voice came from the door diagonally across the room. In order to find a way to get Sun Yanhua to sign the contract, Second Miss is even willing to help take care of a child. Hearing this voice, Yi Huanyan instantly came back to her senses. She was about to explain that Jingjing was Nan-Neo's classmate, but changed her mind. Signing the contract early is not only beneficial to me. If Sun Yanhua had asked President Ling to take care of a child today, I'm afraid you would have agreed. I'm sorry to disappoint you. No one has asked me to do this kind of thing. There was a trace of ridicule on Ling Han's face. Yi Huanyan was not to be outdone. She retorted sarcastically, "It's obvious that people like you don't know how to take care of children. I'm afraid that even if you cry and beg, Sun Yanhua won't hand over his daughter to you." Ling Han crossed his arms and stared at Yi Huanyan calmly. "If I don't look like it, then do you, the dignified second miss of the Gu family, look like you know how to take care of children?" Hearing this, Yi Huanyan curved the corners of her lips. "Of course. Otherwise, did you think that my son was raised by a nanny? What son?" Yi Huanyan raised her eyebrows. She lifted her leg and hooked the door, pretending to close it. A sentence floated out from the crack of the door. I'm a woman in my 30s. Is it strange that I have a son? The moment she finished speaking, there was a crisp sound of the door closing in the corridor. The smile on Ling Han's face gradually froze. His brows trembled as he stared in shock at the closed door. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. Even he himself did not notice the sullen anger in his eyes. She actually had a son? Behind the closed door, Yi Huanyan had one eye closed and the other was staring at the peephole. She refused to miss a single expression on Ling Han's face. She watched as a certain someone angrily took 2 big steps forward from her door to her door, then quickly turned around. In the end, there was a conflicted expression on his face. The moment he forcefully closed the door, she finally could not help but laugh out loud. That laugh was filled with both success and satisfaction. The little girl in her arms rubbed her eyes and yawned. She asked in a childish voice, "Auntie, what are you laughing at?" "Auntie, I'm laughing at a nerd. He's been jealous ever since he was young." Chapter 341. When Neo woke up, there was a little face beside him. She was lying on the edge of the bed and blinking at him. She was holding a milk bottle in her arms and drinking milk slowly. He rubbed his eyes and sat up from the bed. "Jingjing, why are you here?" Jingjing was wearing cute pink bunny pajamas. Holding the milk bottle, she said calmly, "Mommy and Daddy left me with your mommy." Her voice was very sweet and cute. Neo saw her staring at him without blinking and frowned. "Why are you looking at me like that?" When he spoke, he unconsciously showed his dimples. Jingjing raised her finger and poked his face curiously. "What's this?" A soft finger with a milky fragrance poked Nao's face. Now subconsciously touched her own face. "Dimples, don't you know?" Jingjing shook her head. Her eyes were full of slyness. "I'm not talking about dimples. I'm talking about, you drool when you sleep." Neo was stunned at first. Then he twitched his lips and gave Jingjing a look of disdain. "I don't drool when I sleep." "Really? But the pillow?" Jingjing blinked. Her little finger poked the edge of the pillow silently. There was obviously a watery stain in the middle. Looking at the saliva stain on the pillow, Neo's mouth twitched. He held his forehead helplessly. If he told Jingjing that the saliva was his mother's, she probably wouldn't believe him. Just as he was feeling awkward, the doorbell rang and broke the awkward situation. Without thinking, Neo rolled out of bed and rushed to the living room barefooted. "Who is it?" He couldn't reach the peephole, so he could only shout through the door. "Room service." Neo glanced in the direction of the bathroom. The sound of running water indicated that his mother was washing up inside. He pondered for 2 seconds, and after making sure that no one would pretend to be room service and rob him in broad daylight, he opened the door. There was indeed room service at the door. There were all kinds of breakfast dishes on the dining car. The young man was wearing a white chef's uniform. However, other than the dining car, there was another person standing at the door, staring at Neo. Neo frowned as he stared at the man at the door. Soon, he found a trace of familiarity in his cold and threatening eyes. It was similar to the description in the information given by Gu Min. Although he already knew about his background, Neo still asked symbolically to avoid unnecessary trouble. "Who are you?" Ling Han frowned and stared at the little radish, who was slightly taller than his knees. He asked, "You're Gu Huanyan's son? How old are you?" Neo's frown deepened. He stared at Ling Han and asked, 5 years old. "Do you have a problem with that?" He looked at Ling Han with a shrewdness and vigilance that people his age did not have. There was a bit of resistance that belonged to adults, and he did not hide his contempt for him. These complicated expressions were definitely not something that a 5-year-old child should have. Ling Han's expression changed slightly. This child? Was he really only 5 years old? "Neo, I'm hungry." A sweet and cute voice came from the room. Neo's eyes immediately retracted, and he returned to the innocent look of a child. He turned around and walked slowly to the table. "What do you want to eat?" "I'll get it for you." "Sandwiches." The chef who delivered the food quickly left under Ling Han's signal. Ling Han was about to enter the room when a voice suddenly came from the table. "Stand there and don't move. My mommy said not to let strangers be with her." Ling Han stood at the door with his arms crossed. He glared at Naneo and then pointed at the little girl beside him. "Jingjing knows me, so I'm not a stranger." Hearing this, Naneo looked at Jingjing. The little girl, who was eating sandwiches, tilted her head and looked in the direction of the door. She tried hard to swallow the sandwich in her mouth and then took a big sip of her milk bottle. She said seriously, "My daddy said that Uncle Ling is not a good person." Naneo's expression became more and more complicated. He glanced at Ling Han and looked vigilant, as if he was going to call the police if he dared to come in. Yi Huanyan walked out of the bathroom. As soon as she opened the door, she smelled breakfast sandwiches. She asked as she walked, "Naneo, did you order breakfast yourself?" Naneo shook his head in front of the table. "I didn't order it." "Then who did?" Yi Huanyan picked up a piece of bread, took a bite, and put it back in the bamboo basket. Jingjing sucked on her milk and said vaguely, "I think it was Uncle Ling Han who ordered it." Yi Huanyan's heart skipped a beat. She turned around instinctively and only saw the closed door. "Ling Han was here? Where is he?" Nan-eo looked innocent. "He left after delivering breakfast." Yi Huanyan looked at Jingjing again. The girl also nodded heavily. At this moment, in the suite diagonally across the room, a certain someone was sitting on the sofa and feeling very depressed. He was almost 40 years old, but this was the first time he had been angered to the point of depression by two brats. It was one thing to be locked out by the two brats, but God knew when that brat Naneo had pressed the alarm when he wasn't paying attention. Two burly hotel security guards came upstairs and checked his credentials thoroughly. The doorbell rang, and he went to open the door unhappily. Gu Huanyan was still pressing the doorbell. She was obviously shocked by his rude way of opening the door. "What are you doing here?" Seeing that it was her, Ling Han's expression softened. Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds and explained, "I am here to thank you for the breakfast." Ling Han moved aside to let her in. He calmed down a little and explained as he walked, "It's nothing. I am sorry for suddenly flaring up at you last night. Take the breakfast as an apology. We still need to work together in the future. Sit. What do you want to drink?" "Coffee is fine." Gu Huanyan smoothed out her dress and sat down on the sofa. The layout of Ling Han's suite was similar to hers. It was just that it looked neater. The reason why it was neater was because there was a devil in her room. Since the first night he stayed with her, he had turned the entire room upside down, saying that he wanted to see if there were any surveillance cameras installed in the hotel. She knew that her son's IQ was higher than that of ordinary people. She also let him do whatever he wanted. The main reason was that she felt guilty about the car accident that year. Therefore, she had always felt sorry for the defects in his personality. In terms of teaching, she had always spoiled him. Naneo had never had a good impression of his biological father. From the way he talked about Ling Han, Yi Huanyan had a feeling that her son knew something. So she guessed that perhaps Ling Han had been bullied by his father. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but ask, "Well, why didn't you wait for me to come out? The two kids didn't do anything, right?" Hearing this, Ling Han paused in his action of pouring the coffee. When he turned around, he had already returned to normal. "Nothing. Your son is quite special." "Special?" Yi Huanyan's face tightened. "That doesn't seem to be a good evaluation." Chapter 342. Ling Han's gaze froze slightly as he handed the coffee cup to Yi Huanyan. "That's not what I meant. I just feel that your son seems to be a little different from other children. He seems to be very smart, but also a little too smart for a child his age." Yi Huanyan frowned, her heart beating like a drum. He was injured when he was young, so his personality is a little flawed. He's different from other children. You don't like him? Hearing this, Ling Han was stunned for a few seconds. "Do you care if I like him or not?" Any mother would care if her child is liked by others. Yi Huanyan took a sip of the coffee to hide the subtle anxiety in her eyes. In the blind spot of her line of sight, she did not notice that there was a flash of disappointment in Ling Han's eyes that even he himself did not notice. At this moment, the word others suddenly stopped in his heart and couldn't get rid of it. I don't think I've ever heard of Second Miss being married before. There was a hint of provocation in his words. Just like how no mother would want others to dislike their son, no woman would want others to mention her marriage history. You've never heard of it, or you haven't found anything. Yi Huanyan's expression didn't change. She gently placed the coffee cup in her right hand on the small plate on her left and right. The smile on her face made people feel that it was fake. Ling Han's gaze was a little strange. It would be a lie if he said that he hadn't investigated Gu Huanyan's background. After all, she was someone he wanted to work with, and she looked like a scheming woman. He had to be careful. But unfortunately, the Gu family seemed to have done something to Gu Huanyan's background. Although the information looked flawless, he couldn't help but gradually find flaws after getting close to Gu Huanyan. For example, the Gu Huanyan in the information was completely different from the person in front of him. Before he could respond, Yi Huanyan's voice sounded in the room again. It was a little hoarse, but calm. You don't have to think about what I'm thinking or whether the information you found is true or false. I never thought of hiding my marriage history, but my brother might not think so. After all, my brother still hopes that I can have a good home. Home. Ling Han's eyes flashed a trace of coldness. Gu Xinian wants you to get married? Why? Does Ling think that I can't get married with a child at my age? Yi Huanyan put the plate back on the coffee table. Just as she was about to sit back down, her eyes suddenly landed on Ling Han. In the next second, she bent over in front of him. At a distance that was neither too far nor too close, she raised her hand and brushed his collar to tidy it up. Facing Ling Han's gaze, she said in a low voice, "It's just a tie that's crooked. I don't mean anything else." As soon as she finished speaking, she cried out in surprise. Suddenly, she felt a force tighten around her wrist. Her whole body was pulled into a broad chest. When she came back to her senses, she was already in a very ambiguous position. Her back was against his chest, and she was sitting on his lap. Generally speaking, this kind of intimate action only has one meaning in the East. Ling Han's hands circled her waist from behind, making her unable to move. He leaned over slightly, and his chest was even closer to her back. He whispered in her ear, "Don't talk to me about the Western stuff. If the information is true, you grew up in China for 20 years and learned the Eastern stuff." As he spoke, his hand had already slid from her waist to her calf and pulled up her long skirt. His slightly cold hand reached into the base of her thigh, and his other hand had already climbed up her collarbone. She could hear his breathing, and his hot breath sprayed on her neck. Her body involuntarily trembled, and her eyes glazed over as her breathing quickened. His aggressive warning gave her a feeling of déjà vu. Ling Han originally only wanted to warn this woman not to do whatever she wanted in front of him. After all, she would only be at a disadvantage in the end. However, the moment he pulled her into his arms, the sweet fragrance that assailed his nostrils made him a little unable to control himself. In the end, it was hard to tell if those actions were deliberate or if he couldn't control himself. The moment he entered under her skirt, he could clearly feel the woman in his arms stiffen. It was rare for her to show this kind of nervousness, and it made him feel a kind of pleasure of conquering, both physically and mentally. The woman suddenly pressed down on his hand. "What, you don't want to?" he asked in a hoarse voice. On the contrary, in the next second, the woman rubbed his leg, and his expression suddenly stiffened. By the time he restrained the impulse of his body, the woman had already turned around and straddled him. Her hands were soft and boneless, and they hooked around his neck. Her pair of watery eyes were overflowing with sparkling waves, and she smiled at him seductively. "In this kind of thing, I prefer to be the one to take the initiative." As she spoke, her slender fingers tugged at his collar and skillfully picked up his tie and 2 buttons on his shirt. Her warm fingers reached into his shirt, and she stroked his full and elastic chest. His face stiffened even more. Enough! His deep voice sounded in the room, and it was already devoid of lust. Gu Huanyan's actions were undoubtedly using him as a tool to vent her lust, just like when they were in Florida. She told him that everyone has physiological needs. He pulled her from his body and onto the sofa, then quickly stood up and turned his back to her. "You can leave." There was a rustling sound behind her, and she didn't say a word, but quickly left in her high heels. The unique, sweet fragrance of her body floated in the air, and every time she was in a place, it seemed to be able to retain this smell for a long time. After a click, the whole room fell silent. The sofa sank, and he held his forehead, a faint tiredness in his eyes. He couldn't explain the emotions in his heart. He was also a person who grew up under the Western education model, so he was not secretive about such things like physiological needs. Besides, he was not an innocent young man. There was no reason to ask a woman who had sex with him after drinking with him to keep her chastity for that one-night stand. But when he saw her skillful movements and flirtatious expression, he suddenly felt uncomfortable for no reason. He couldn't help but wonder if she was so open with other men. She was just a woman he had known for a short time, and he suddenly realized that his requirements for her weren't limited to the relationship of being a bed partner. In the half-truth test, just now, he was already at a disadvantage. If he was at a disadvantage before because he easily thought of the person who had left 5 years ago, then in that moment he was at a disadvantage because of Gu Huanyan's past that he had outlined himself. She was a veteran in the field of love, and she must have had many men in the past. At the thought of this, the tightness in his chest in the morning continued to hit him. In the corridor outside the door, Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. After confirming that there was no one around, she touched her cheeks. They were too hot. If she had walked a little slower, or if Ling Han had pushed her away a little later, she would have been exposed. Chapter 343. In the castle on the misty island, everyone was sitting around the stove in the warm air. Guan Nai was very enthusiastic about the fact that Yi Huanyan brought 2 cute babies, which was not in line with her usual image of a cold beauty. "You already have 2 children of this age?" Yi Huanyan explained with a smile. "Jingjing is Su Nianhua's daughter, and Naaneo is my son." Guan Nai sat cross-legged on the plush carpet with her hands on her cheeks, holding the 2 children in her arms. She pinched Jingjing's cheeks and stroked Naaneo's head. Naaneo had always been fond of beautiful women, and Jingjing looked at the beautiful sister who was like her anime idol, the Ice Queen, with admiration. The 2 were surprisingly well-behaved. Well, there was also a trace of shyness. Yi Huanyan touched her forehead, surprised that she could see such a shy expression on her young and mature son. She secretly took 2 photos with her phone and sent them to Gu Xinian. Guan Nai suddenly looked at Ling Han meaningfully. "Hey, if you didn't break up with me back then, maybe our children would also be this big now." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's eyes suddenly tightened, and she looked at Guan Nai in shock. Ling Han's face also stiffened, and he subconsciously looked at Yi Huanyan. He coughed twice, but had no intention of explaining. Ahem, their eyes met like lightning and fire in the air, and the warmth in the room suddenly froze. Yi Huanyan quickly avoided Ling Han's eyes, and held the newly revised script in her hand, saying in a low voice, "I think we can change this part of the script." Without eye contact, Ling Han frowned, unable to figure out Gu Huanyan's thoughts. Guan Nai suddenly mentioned the relationship back then, which was also unexpected to him. After all, to him, that relationship, if not mentioned, he would not remember it. Gu Huanyan seemed to be dissatisfied just now. Was it possible? Would someone like her, who viewed love more simply than a normal meal, care about this? Did he see wrongly? That feeling of chest tightness came again. For the entire afternoon, Yi Huanyan did not speak to Ling Han at all. You could say that she was too busy discussing the script with Guan Nai to pay attention to him, or that she did not know what to say when there were so many people around. But it did not seem awkward when she did not speak. It wasn't until they finished talking about the script that some people smelled a hint of a Cold War. After they finished discussing the script, Yi Huanyan called her assistant to book a flight for the next afternoon. Only then did she bid farewell to Guan Nai and leave the mansion. Yi Huanyan stopped a taxi. Ling Han opened the door to the back seat. Yi Huanyan sat in the back seat, and the two children sat beside her. After closing the door, he directly asked the driver to lock the door and left. Ling Han was left standing in the same place, with his hand still in the air, making the action of pulling the door open. He watched in shock as the taxi disappeared from his sight. "Why didn't you let Uncle Ling Han get in the car?" Jingjing turned her head and leaned against the back of the seat, looking at Uncle Ling Han, who was getting farther and farther away. Her eyes were filled with confusion. Naneo pulled her down and said faintly, "Because he is too stupid." Jingjing scratched her head, still at a loss. Yi Huanyan did not hear Naneo's words. She was busy typing on her phone. Gu Sinian had just replied to her message about Naneo's shy look. Her reply at this moment was very brief and very rude. When did Guan Nai and Ling Han meet? Not long after, she received Gu Sinian's reply, which very simply pointed out the question she really wanted to ask. She graduated from the same university as Ling Han in America. She can be considered his direct junior, but judging from the age difference, it is impossible for the two of them to have interacted in school. The Eastern European royal family is very strict about protecting family privacy. If you want to know this, you can only ask the person involved. It was equivalent to not saying anything. Yi Huanyan closed her phone angrily. She was extremely annoyed. Originally, she thought that she already knew Ling Han well enough. But who would have thought that he still had more than 10 years of life in America? That was her blind spot. When Ling Han was studying in America, even if the oldest age was counted, she was still in her first year of high school, and Guan Nai was 3 or 4 years younger than her. In other words, Guan Nai was still in primary school at that time? How could he bear to do it? Was he a pervert? A lolicon? After returning to the hotel room, Yi Huanyan moved her luggage out. When she was packing, her actions were very rough, as if she was abusing her luggage to vent her anger like a certain someone. Ling Han came back almost at the same time as her. As soon as he came back, he knocked on her door, only to hear her say, "Neither of you is allowed to open the door." He frowned, and at the same time, the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a hint of a smile. In the evening, Sun Yanhua and his wife treated Yi Huanyan to a private room in the hotel restaurant to thank her for helping them. The fog was thick outside the window. When Chun Yin arrived with her arm around Yi Huanyan's arm, the large round table was already full, and there were only 2 seats left. One was left on either side of Ling Han, so Yi Huanyan would have to sit next to him anyway. No matter how much they planned, they didn't expect that the person who came with Yi Huanyan would be the ancestor, Chun Yin, who couldn't tolerate sand in her eyes. When she saw Ling Han, Chun Yin's originally smiling face suddenly darkened. Even though Yi Huanyan had warned her beforehand, she still looked unhappy. She glanced at Ling Han impatiently and said in a very displeased tone, "Could I trouble this gentleman to move your seat?" Everyone could see that there was a little ambiguity between Yi Huanyan and Ling Han, but other than Chun Yin and Naneo, who knew the truth, everyone present thought that Ling Han had met his second love. Zheng Ro didn't know the truth, but she was innocent, so she naturally tried her best to matchmake these two people who looked very compatible. Seeing Chun Yin like this, she tried her best to give her a look. As for Sun Yanhua, he missed Yi Huanyan's sadness back then. Even though he was grateful to Ling Han, now he was still dissatisfied that Ling Han had another woman. So his attitude had always been contradictory. Now that he saw Chun Yin giving Ling Han a look, although he was a little surprised, he was happy to watch the show. Chun Yin was only in her early 20s and was still a young and energetic girl. Ling Han could only move a seat and let this young and energetic girl sit next to him, separating them from Yi Huanyan. After sitting down, looking at the whole table, everyone at this table had ulterior motives, and the atmosphere was very subtle. On the right side of Ling Han was Sun Yanhua and his wife. Zheng Ro was next to her daughter Jingjing, and then next was Naneo. Yi Huanyan naturally sat next to Naneo, and on the other side was Chun-in, who acted on her own initiative to separate her from Ling Han. Zhang Ro failed to give her a look, so she stared at Chun-in with disappointment. She was good, and she was even more enthusiastic. If I knew that there was an outsider at this banquet, I wouldn't have come. Ling Han's face darkened. He had become an outsider. My little sister usually likes to joke. Zhang Ro raised her cup and smiled to smooth things over. Let me toast to everyone, as an apology for looking for me last night. Chapter 344. Even the two children who were drinking fruit juice followed suit and downed a cup of fruit juice. As soon as Zhang Ro sat down, Chun-in poured a full glass of wine and stood up. This glass of wine is for President Ling. President Ling is a noble person. As soon as he came here, everything was resolved. Sister Xiaoro and brother-in-law got back together. Sister Yen signed the contract. As their younger sister, I am also happy for them. This reason was rather far-fetched. Zhang Ro and Sun Yanhua both looked at the two parties involved. Yi Huanyan acted as if nothing had happened and continued to pick up food for the two children, as if she did not hear what she said. Ling Han glanced at Yi Huanyan expressionlessly. Then he frowned and picked up the glass of wine and downed it in one gulp. As soon as he downed the glass of wine, Chun-in refilled it. The rule in the North is that a man should drink 3 glasses of wine when a woman offers a toast. But my family has raised me as a boy since I was young. President Ling is a noble person, so I will also drink 3 glasses of wine. In other words, Ling Han still had to drink 3 more glasses. The people at the table had never heard of this rule. Even if Zhang Ro was slow to react, she could tell that Chun-in's attitude towards Ling Han was a little strange. She glanced at Sun Yanhua and realized that her husband was also confused. Yi Huanyan still looked indifferent. Ling Han glanced at her and refilled his glass. He said in a deep voice, "You don't have to drink anymore. Just follow the northern rules." She drank 2 glasses in a row and did not even have a chance to catch her breath. After drinking the wine, Chun-in seemed to have something to say. Fortunately, Zhang Ro reacted quickly and interrupted before she could say anything. The food here is not bad. Let's eat first. There's plenty of wine. There's no rush to drink. Chun-yin's hand loosened from the wine glass. Zhang Ro also heaved a sigh of relief. Before he could finish heaving a sigh of relief, he heard Chun-in ask again, "I used to see President Ling on the news. With so many scandals, I wonder if Madam at home would mind?" The atmosphere at the table, which had finally eased up, suddenly became tense. Chun-in looked like she was joking, but Ling Han was close enough to see the contempt in her eyes. Whether it was her undisguised contempt or her seemingly casual ridicule, it was enough to make Ling Han leave in a huff. But at this time, Ling Han's attention was not on her. From the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of something behind her shoulder. When Chun-in was asking the question, Yi Huanyan clearly paused in her action of getting food for Naneo. Using other people's mouths to test his relationship history, he sneered in his heart. The second daughter of the Gu family was really good at manipulating people. She had only known a little girl for a few days, but she was already obedient to her. President Ling, looks like you're in your 30s. Don't tell me you haven't been married? Xiao-in. Zhang Ro looked like she wanted to smooth things over, but Sun Yanhua tugged at her, and she swallowed the second half of her sentence. Sun Yanhua stared at Ling Han indifferently. 5 years seemed to be long enough for everything to change with the passage of time. However, back then, he had only wanted to ask for Yi Huanyan and had never received any reply from Ling Han. To Sun Yanhua, these answers might not be important. In his opinion, they were also not important to Yi Huanyan now. After all, a dead person was like a lamp going out, and there was nothing left. He watched coldly from the sidelines only because he smelled Ling Han's strange feelings for this Miss Gu. If the two of them could be together in the future, he, as an outsider, would naturally have nothing to say. But in his heart, he felt unsatisfied for Yi Huanyan. He was also very curious how Ling Han would mention his colorful love history in front of this Miss Gu. Sheng Enren and the others might be playful. But when it came to his first wife, what kind of attitude would he have? Drinking and talking about love are usually topics between men. Miss Chun is so young, but there are too many things that you're curious about. Ling Han's gaze followed Yi Huanyin's side profile closely, trying to find something from her face. Chun Yin's crisp voice rang in his ears. I grew up with my senior and junior brothers, so I've heard a lot. I'm used to it. If it's not convenient for President Ling to say it, just take it that I'm presumptuous. I can punish myself with a drink. No need. Ling Han pursed his lips, and his eyes flashed. He withdrew his gaze from Yi Huanyin and said indifferently, There's nothing to hide. The gossip in the newspaper is the topic of the company's artists. My wife passed away 5 years ago. I also want to know if she would mind if she was still alive. When he said wife passed away, he glanced at Su Nianhua intentionally or unintentionally. So, President Ling is a person who keeps his nose clean? Chun Yin's rhetorical question was filled with undisguised contempt. There was a hint of ridicule at the corner of her mouth, and it seemed like there was a hidden meaning in her words. It made people sweat. Ling Han's gaze deepened as he sized up Chun Yin. Even if she was trying to get information for Gu Huanyin, there was no need to have such a hostile attitude. He vaguely felt that this Chun Yin was not normal. Who doesn't have a few exes? Xiaowu, you're not very sensible to ruin everyone's mood like this. A slightly hoarse female voice quietly broke the delicate atmosphere. Yi Huanyin held her wine glass and smiled sweetly. Xiaowu is not sensible. After all, she's a little girl. It's normal for her to be interested in gossip. I'll toast everyone on her behalf as an apology for ruining the atmosphere. Seeing that Yi Huanyin had taken the initiative to break the ice, Zhang Ro, who had long broken out in cold sweat, finally let out a long sigh of relief. She pulled Su Nianhua, who was beside her, to stand up and happily drank with her. She smiled and said, President Ling won't be angry with Xiaoyin. She's just a child. Before she put down her wine glass, Yi Huanyin filled it up again. The corners of her lips curled up, and she smiled charmingly. I'll also toast President Ling alone. If he hadn't told me in time that Xiao Ro went to the glacier last night, I wouldn't have been able to find Xiao Ro so quickly. Mr. Su also wouldn't have signed the contract for my script on account of my sincerity. So, President Ling has helped me. This toast is to President Ling. Yi Huanyin's words had a clear boundary between what she was saying and what she was saying. Her words were very polite and distant, which made people feel uncomfortable. Ling Han looked at her deeply. A trace of anger surfaced in his eyes. In a fit of pique, he imitated his tone and replied, President Gu, you're too kind. Then he picked up his wine glass and downed it in one gulp. Zhang Ro looked at the two of them and frowned as she picked up her wine glass. Then I should drink with you. After all, you were looking for me. Su Nianhua could not stop her in time. He watched helplessly as his wife downed her wine glass. After 3 rounds of wine, the delicate atmosphere was mixed into the tipsy state, and the scene became livelier. Zhang Ro drank one glass after another heroically. After a few glasses, her face was already flushed. She nestled in Su Nianhua's arms and chatted with him softly, with a red face. Chun Yin mustered up all her energy to drink with Ling Han. She gave all kinds of strange reasons, but Ling Han did not reject her. He only glanced at the woman behind Chun Yin. He wanted to know how many more questions she could ask him with Chun Yin's mouth. He also wanted to know how she would react after he answered her questions. She wanted him to tell the truth after drinking, but unfortunately, the truth might not be what she wanted to hear. One last question. When did you love your wife the most in your life? Chapter 345. Blurg. Zhang Ro lay on the chair and vomited until the sky turned dark. Su Nianhua looked distressed and scolded softly. Why did you drink so much when you can't drink? She retorted while vomiting. I'm happy today. Okay. You're happy. Yi Huanyin glanced at the 2 children who were playing games on the sofa and yawning. She got up and walked to Zheng Ro, patted her back, and asked Sun Yanhua, "I'll accompany you to send Xiao Ro and the children back to rest." Sun Yanhua frowned and looked at the two heroes, who were still drinking. "Where are they?" "I'll come down later. I'll have to trouble you to take care of Nanao for me, tonight." Sun Yanhua nodded. "That's not a problem." Yi Huanyan accompanied Sun Yanhua to send the drunk Zheng Ro and the two children back to their room. At that time, Chen Yin was already drunk. Yi Huanyan did not hear Ling Han's answer to the last question. When they returned, Chen Yin was nowhere to be seen. Only one person was left in the messy room. Ling Han still had a calm look on his face as he played with the wine glass in his hand. He didn't look drunk at all. After 5 years, his alcohol tolerance had indeed improved. "Where's Xiao Wu?" Yi Huanyan asked. She suddenly thought that Ling Han might not know who Xiao Wu was, so she explained, "She's Janine." Ling Han lowered his head and said, "Her brother took her away." Yi Huanyan nodded and looked at him. She hesitated and said, "You don't look drunk. Do you need me to send you back to your room?" Ling Han looked up and his eyes were hazy. "We haven't had a drink yet." Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and picked up the thick coat hanging beside him. "You're drunk. I'll send you back to your room." He could still pretend to be so calm when he was drunk. It seemed that his alcohol tolerance had not improved, but his acting skills had. "You still have questions to ask, right? I'm right here. You can continue asking." Yi Huanyan's hand, which was about to help him up, stopped in the air. She frowned and said, "Do you think I asked Xiao Wu to ask you those questions? Don't tell me that wasn't what you wanted to ask." Ling Han interrupted her and put down the wine glass. He slowly stood up and faced Yi Huanyan, then grabbed her wrist. She fell back into the chair and held onto the corner of the table in panic. Her face was full of shock. She felt the pressure on her shoulder. Before she could say anything, a strong alcoholic kiss landed on her lips and tongue. After a long kiss, he held her face and put some distance between them. His gaze was distant. "A little girl who just met me for the first time asked me so many personal questions. Every word and sentence was about my feelings. Guess if she has ulterior motives or if the person behind her has other plans for me." This kiss messed up her rationality and made it difficult for her to open her mouth. Ling Han completely misunderstood her, but she didn't know how to explain. Her burning gaze gradually turned cold, and she stared at him blankly. "Have you never tried to trust anyone in your life?" Hearing this, Ling Han's hand that was holding her face stiffened. "Didn't you ask me to ask myself? Fine, I'll ask you the question from before. When did you love your wife the most?" "Day by day, at this very moment." "Is that so?" Yi Huanyan stared at him coldly. "You love her that much? It sounds very touching, but when she was alive, did you ever trust her?" He stared blankly at Yi Huanyan, his eyes filled with pain. He retracted his hands from her cheeks and reached for the wine glass on the table and downed it in one gulp. "No. What happened after she left?" "After she left?" Ling Han seemed to have thought of something that had happened a long time ago. He thought of the first time in his life that he had gone crazy for a woman. The first time in his life that he had fallen into endless despair. He thought of the day when the truth was revealed. He was drunk, but he couldn't forget the figure in his heart. "After she left, I realized that other than her, there was no one by my side that I could really trust." Yi Huanyan frowned. The anger in her heart had dissipated. Looking at his side profile, she only felt her heart ache. There was someone in this world who had hurt and abused you thousands of times, but as long as he looked at you with a sorrowful gaze, you would be deeply trapped and unable to extricate yourself. You would be willing to go through a mountain of swords and a sea of fire for him again. When she helped him into the elevator, Yi Huanyan was sure that he was really drunk. His footsteps were hurried and his eyes were hazy. He looked at her and called her Yan Yan, but she couldn't be sure whether he was calling her Gu Huanyan or Yi Huanyan. It wasn't easy to get him back to the room. She squeezed out a hot towel to wipe his face, but she was pulled to his chest and flipped under him. His slender fingers unbuttoned her coat skillfully. His cold hands directly reached under her sweater. After touching those two soft lumps, she was so cold that she shivered. She suddenly hugged his neck tightly and buried him in her violently heaving chest. Through the sweater, she felt the rhythm of his large hands. His desire grew stronger under the influence of alcohol. He couldn't wait to get rid of all the restraints. The long dress slipped from the bedside. The shiny belt and black lace underwear wrapped together and fell on the carpet. The huge chandelier above their heads refracted sparkling and translucent light, falling on the man's tightly muscled buttocks and the fair legs that were separated on both sides of his waist. That pair of strong hands was holding her smooth ankles, and the light fiercely pushed in. And intolerable moans sounded one after another. She was so charming and seductive. He stubbornly parted her legs even more. He bent down to find her lips and sealed her broken moans. Love was like a tide pushing in on the beach, overflowing, retreating, and pushing in again. Yen yen, yen yen, in between the passionate kisses. He panted heavily and called out her name. Yi Huanyan was angry for no reason. She suppressed her moans and held his face to ask him, "Who am I?" "Yen yen, my yen yen, Yi Huanyan." N. Yi Huanyan was a little annoyed. She angrily bit his lips. He responded with an even more passionate kiss, turning her soul upside down. Should she be angry? She slept with him with a new identity and body, but his mind was still filled with her old self. Should she be jealous of herself? She found it laughable just thinking about it. She tried to resist his gentle attacks and held his face again. She broke away from his kiss and asked while panting, "Look at me. Am I Yi Huanyan?" His drunken eyes were hazy and gentle, but his tone was incomparably firm. "Yes, you're drunk. How can you be so sure?" His lips curled into a devilish smile. His hands slid from her ankles all the way to her waist. He lifted her by the waist and carried her so that her legs were still wrapped around his waist. He sat down on that scorching hot spot, deep in and shallow out, causing her entire body to tremble. Her breathing became more rapid, but she was still not satisfied. "Because no one knows your body better than I do." He kept circling around the edge of her mind. His tone was charming. "Do you want it?" Yen yen. Her face was like a peach blossom crimson red. Her rationality was drowned under the extreme pleasure. Her cheeks were pressed against his chest, and she gasped for breath. "Please give it to me." Chapter 346. When he woke up the next day, Ling Han opened his eyes and saw a sea of white. The person in his arms slowly woke up and looked at him with sleepy eyes. He frowned and asked awkwardly, "Did we do it again last night?" "Nothing happened between us." Yi Huanyan yawned and blinked at him. "Do you believe me?" No. His body told him honestly what had happened last night. This was already the third time he couldn't control himself with this woman. Because of alcohol. He was sober when he was on the boat. For the first time in his life, his mind was in a mess. Yi Huanyan pulled the blanket and sat up. When she got up, she pulled away more than half of the blanket, which made Ling Han's face stiffen. He pulled the bed sheet and covered his private parts. Yi Huanyan glanced at a certain spot from the corner of her eyes. She took a deep breath and coughed. "Judging from the frequency of our lovemaking, I think we get along quite well. Do you think we can change our relationship?" Ling Han frowned and stared into her eyes, as if he wanted to confirm something from her eyes. Yi Huanyan wrapped herself in the blanket and got off the bed. She turned around and said, "You don't have to answer me in such a hurry. I'm going to take a shower. You can think about it slowly." The bed sheet fell to the ground. Her snow-white back and perky, but were in full view under the sunlight. The frantic heartbeat of last night filled a certain someone's chest again. His face stiffened as he stared blankly at the figure who opened the bathroom door very calmly and walked in. The sound of water splashing could be heard. His heart beat wildly. Consider the relationship? It wasn't impossible. The sound of water in the bathroom stopped after a while, and there was a rustling sound. He knocked on the door, and the sound inside stopped abruptly. He asked through the frosted glass, "If you want, we can be a couple, whether it's public or not. But the premise is that I won't marry you." After a while, her slightly hoarse voice came from the bathroom. "Not marry? Only dating? I'm already married. I won't marry anyone else in the future. I owe her this. I'm sorry." Even a regular friend with benefits can be described in such a dignified manner by you, as expected of a businessman. It's really not a loss. I was almost touched. Yi Huanyin's tone was very calm, with a hint of ridicule. "But your thoughts coincide with mine. You're indeed a smart person. As for making it public, forget about it. It's not bad to be a fixed bed board. After all, we cooperated quite well last night." Hearing this, a layer of frost quickly condensed between Ling Han's eyebrows. With a whoosh, he pulled open a bathroom door. Yi Huanyan cried out in alarm and clutched the towel around her chest tightly. "You scared me. What are you doing? Aren't they sex partners?" "I agree." "So what if you agree? Can't you just say it outside? You should have said it when you opened the door." "You scared me. Hey, what are you doing?" Yi Huanyan's hands were suddenly grasped by him, and her back was pressed against the bathroom wall. Her freshly showered arms were pinned above her head. He suddenly approached her and pressed the tip of her nose. His breath was scorching as he said in a deep voice, "I'm exercising my rights as a sex partner." The towel slid down to cover her feet. Last night's old passion rekindled, and in the narrow bathroom the temperature suddenly rose. After that, Yi Huanyan lay on the bed with a sore back. As she put on her clothes, she checked the fine kiss marks on her body. They were red and green, densely packed, especially on her chest and neck. She glanced at Ling Han angrily. "You kissed me like this. I have to catch a flight in the afternoon. What if Xiao Rou and the rest see it?" Ling Han sat on the sofa in a suit. He lowered the newspaper by 2 inches and met her angry gaze. With a casual expression, he said, "If you're willing to make it public, I don't mind." Revenge. This was blatant revenge. At this moment, she began to regret her cheap mouth and angered him. In this state, she still had to catch a flight back to China. How could no one see it? Did he really think that she had no way to deal with such a low-level trick? After changing, she stood up and buttoned her coat all the way to her chin. She said angrily, "It's fine. I'll put on the scarf." Looking at her leaving figure in a panic, Ling Han's eyes were filled with a trace of coldness. What did this woman think he was? Just a sex partner? After she left, the phone on the coffee table vibrated twice. Xiao Dong's voice came from the other end of the line. "President Ling, I've checked according to your method, but I still can't find out who Gu Huanyan's ex-husband is. Her information doesn't even show that she was married, and it also doesn't say when she started to have a child." Ling Han's face fell. "According to her birth address. Go and check it yourself. The hospital where she was born and lost, her adoptive mother, her neighbors, and even the dog at home. Check everything. I want the most detailed information." "Okay, I understand." In the afternoon, the plane took off from Iceland Airport. Guan Nai's silver fox fur coat was very eye-catching at the airport. Before boarding the plane, Yi Huanyan dragged her to the washroom to change. According to Ling Han, Guan Nai's ex-husband does not allow her to act in the film now. But as long as she can enter the country, it will be fine. After all, there are restrictions on that person entering and leaving the country. That's why she cannot be too obvious at the airport. It is summer in China now. You can ask the butler to bring this coat back. You can't wear it when you are back in China. After some persuasion, Yi Huanyan took out a low-profile coat from her luggage and put it on Guan Nai. She repeatedly emphasized that this is a new coat and she has not worn it before. Guan Nai forced herself to wear it. But after changing, Guan Nai adjusted her sunglasses and asked, "Are you sure we will not attract attention if I change into this coat?" Yi Huanyan paused for a second and followed Guan Nai's gaze towards the departure lounge. Many people were secretly taking photos of Sun Yanhua and the rest with their phones. Some even took the initiative to ask for a group photo. Sun Yanhua had already wrapped himself up tightly. If anyone said they recognized him, they would not believe it. Moreover, those who asked for a group photo were because of the two children. Yi Huanyan held her forehead. She felt that she had miscalculated everything, but she still missed something. They were all handsome men and beautiful women, and they also brought two delicate little girls. Undoubtedly, they were a distinct scenery. She couldn't keep a low profile even if she wanted to. What should we do? Don't tell me we will be stopped by your ex-husband before we even get on the plane? Hearing this, Guan Nai adjusted her sunglasses and said proudly, "Don't worry. If he dares to stop us, I will dare to hijack the plane." Half an hour later, the plane took off safely. On the radio, the sweet voice of the stewardess announced the temperature of the day, the estimated time of departure and landing, as well as the precautions during the flight. The roar of the takeoff echoed in their ears. It pierced through the clouds high in the sky and gradually disappeared. In front of the floor-to-ceiling window of the airport, 5 or 6 muscular bodyguards were surrounding a man with chestnut-brown curly hair. The man's light brown eyes were looking at the sky with a complicated expression, as if he was reluctant to leave. The butler behind him walked forward nervously and said respectfully, "If we inform the captain now, we can still let Madame turn back." "No need. Let her do what she likes." Chapter 347. Lanjiang City International Airport. When Yi Huanyan and the others got off the plane, it was already 2 in the morning. They had always done a good job of keeping secrets, but for safety reasons, they still took the security passage. After coming out of the airport, the extended white Bentley stopped in front of them. 4 men in suits stood in 2 rows and bowed in Guan Nai's direction. "Madam, sir said that you can film, but we have to protect you on your trip." "What about my friends?" Guan Nai seemed to have expected this. She glanced at the 4 big men through her sunglasses. "Sir said that except for Mr. Ling, everyone can get in the car and leave together." Hearing this, the group of people had different expressions. Zhang Rou and Sun Yanhua were the least willing to get involved in this. They carried their daughter, who was already asleep, and waved their hands. They hurriedly left the scene and said, "No need, our car is here. We'll leave first." Yi Huanyan had heard about the love story between Guan Nai and Ling Han in the castle, so she understood the fear of Guan Nai's family. After glancing at the SUV behind them, she looked at Ling Han mockingly. "I don't need it either. My car is here too." Gucci took the sleeping Naneo from Yi Huanyan and looked at Guan Nai and Ling Han respectfully. Then, he led Yi Huanyan into the car. Only Ling Han was left standing beside Guan Nai. He didn't know whether to leave or stay. Guan Nai took off her sunglasses and got into the car impatiently. She nagged as she walked. "Are you done yet? You're really haunting me. I need a car like yours. You're so stingy." After taking 2 steps, she looked back at Ling Han. "Why are you standing there? He's joking with you. Get in the car." Someone behind her smiled meaningfully. "No need, I have a car." Yi Huanyan had just gotten into the car and buckled her son into the child's seat when she heard the sound of glass being knocked on. She turned around and saw Ling Han's face outside the car window. He was less than 20 centimeters away and looked at her with a half smile. The car window rolled down slowly. "Even if you can't get in Guan Nai's car, Pleasure won't have anyone to pick up the boss when she comes back, right? What if I say no?" He placed his hand on the top of the car window and shrouded Yi Huanyan in his shadow, imperceptibly giving off a kind of oppressive force. "Then you can take a taxi." Yi Huanyan's gaze looked past his waist and landed on the long queue. Calm, before boarding the plane, she was still passionate in bed. Now, there was suddenly a woman as cold as ice and capricious as ice. In any case, he had seen all kinds of women before, and most of them were angry for the same reason. Thinking of what happened with Guan Nai just now, he curled his lips and revealed a smile. "Could it be that you're jealous because of what happened between me and Guan Nai in the past?" This smile was very annoying to Yi Huanyan. She raised her eyebrows. Why don't you explain? If I'm satisfied, I'll help you. Ling Han looked calm. Didn't you say that we're just sex partners? Do we need to care so much about sex partners? Even sex partners have times when they're curious. Why? Is it hard to talk about? Yi Huanyan looked at Gucci Drive. Wait a minute. Ling Han's eyes deepened. This woman was serious. Ling Han's face darkened and he coughed dryly. When I was studying in America, I went back to my high school to give a speech and met Guan Ai. She was in junior high and obsessed with shoujo manga. She pestered me and made me date her for a month. It was just child's play. That's it. That's it. Ling Han looked embarrassed as he glanced at the driver's seat. What happened when you broke up? Who suggested it? Of course it was, Ling Han frowned. That's not important. Open the door. Yi Huanyan looked down and took out 2 100 renminbi notes from her wallet. She handed them out of the car window and smiled. When I said I would help you, I meant to help you pay the taxi fare. In the end, the CEO of Pleasure, Ling Han, stood at the taxi waiting area of Lanjiang City International Airport with a livid face with the 200 renminbi that his new sex partner had given him. Gu Huanyan, you despicable woman. One afternoon a week later, at the opening ceremony of Remaining Life, the news of Guan Ai's return to China had been leaked by a lot of gossip reporters. However, most of the netizens were just following the crowd and didn't believe it. As a result, when Guan Ai appeared at the opening ceremony, all the reporters were dumbfounded. The invitation card didn't mention the male and female leads at all. Guan Ai and Sun Yanhua appeared together on the stage of the opening ceremony, which became the climax of the opening ceremony. All the major media outlets reported at the same time. The number of reposts instantly exceeded 10,000, and in the blink of an eye, it exceeded 1 million. After half an hour, Weibo's server crashed several times. This effect was within Yi Huanyan's expectations. What she wanted was to launch the first round of publicity. When the shooting started, the publicity would be reduced, so as not to cause the audience's expectations to be too high and their imaginations to be too unrealistic. In addition, there were also guest performances by Xing Enren, the 2 best actresses of Pleasure on the same stage, the debut film of a domestic A-list celebrity, and so on. There was also the costume team of Zhuangyu Group and the styling team of Fengshan magazine. There were so many famous celebrities that it could be said to be the lineup of the century. The host spoke with confidence on the stage, while Yi Huanyan sat below the stage. Across the noisy crowd, she looked at her friend who she hadn't seen in 5 years. Now she was the chief editor of Fengshan. She was wearing a gorgeous black gauze dress, with short hair and a single long string of crystal earrings by her ears. Her makeup was exquisite, and she looked at the stage with a cold expression. She clapped when she should and smiled when she should. All the expressions on her face seemed to have been rehearsed in advance. Looking at her for a long time made one's heart ache. When the opening ceremony was about to end, Ji Xiaoya stood up and walked towards the entrance of the venue. She was on the phone with her head down and tidied up her dress. A person dressed as an assistant suddenly walked up to her and respectfully handed a card to her. She frowned and opened the card in confusion. Her fingers that were holding the phone by her ear suddenly trembled. At Guanmei Hotel, the new female devil of the fashion industry, the chief editor of Fengshan, Ji Xiaoya, was wearing a unique black gauze dress in the BV show field. She hurriedly lifted the hem of her dress and hurried down the corridor. When she turned the corner, the priceless dress suddenly caught on the door frame and pulled a big hole. She didn't even frown. She dropped the hem of her dress and quickened her pace. She clenched the card in her hand. The second she saw the content of the card, she didn't even change her clothes. She directly asked the driver to drive to the address on the card. The familiar handwriting and tone on the card meant that there couldn't be another person in this world. Outside the green bamboo room, the waiter nodded respectfully at Ji Xiaoya. He opened the door of the room and invited her in. Ji Xiaoya stood at the door of the room in a daze. She looked at the person in front of her in a daze. There was a back view by the windowsill. When the person heard the sound, she slowly turned around. When she saw her, her lips curled up and she gave her a gentle smile. She seemed a little shy. She raised her hand and stroked the strands of hair by her ear. Xiaoyu, long time no see. Chapter 348. It had been 5 years since they last met. Her appearance and voice had changed. She looked like a completely different person. She was still the person who had taken photos of her several times and negotiated a contract with her once. At this moment, she was standing in front of the window sill. Under the light, her eyes were curved as she sincerely and nervously called her Xiaoyu. Over the years, very few people had called her that. She had missed the days when she was the only one with her back then. As time passed and she had more and more friends around her, she realized that what she missed was the way she was when she was with her back then. Yan, the person in her arms, suddenly burst into tears. Yi Huanyan opened her arms and hung in the air for a few seconds. Finally, she landed on her back and gently patted her twice. Just because of Xiaoyu, you believed that I was Yi Huanyan? Why didn't you listen to my explanation? She cried even harder. You're already in your 30s. Why are you still like this? Don't fashion demonesses like you value your makeup more than your life? To hell with the fashion demoness. The person in her arms raised her head with a choked sob and pinched her arm hard. It was so painful that Yi Huanyan burst into tears. She hurriedly shook off her hand. It hurts so much. What are you doing? I want to see if I'm dreaming. Ji Xiaoya blinked and looked at her. Her eyeliner was all smudged and her eyes were crying like a panda. Yi Huanyan hugged her arm that was hurting from her pinch. You could have just pinched yourself. If you pinch me, I'm the one who's hurting. How can I be sure that you're not dreaming? It's not a dream. Ji Xiaoya sniffled and gradually calmed down from her agitated emotions. I know you're not dead. Back then, although Gusinian left the country in a hurry, she found a copy of the hospital's rescue report in the documents left behind by Gusinian. She kept this copy to this day. For the next 5 years, Gusinian avoided her. She couldn't find any news about Yi Huanyan, but she knew that as long as Gusinian was around, he would definitely keep Yi Huanyan alive. As long as Yi Huanyan was still alive, she would definitely contact him again. Thinking of this, Ji Xiaoya's expression changed. She tried to put on a strong front and said, Where have you been all these years? It's been 5 years, and you haven't even called me or sent me a text message. It's as if you vanished from the face of the earth. I thought you had died because we couldn't save you. Have you ever considered me your best friend? Yi Huanyan? Yi Huanyan waved her hand. It's my fault. I was just thinking about my brother, and you. I don't know why Gusinian broke Ji Xiaoya's heart and hid from her for 5 years. Moreover, she had been acting like a nobody for the past 5 years. If she were to contact Ji Xiaoya like this, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to hide it from Ling Han. But she couldn't tell the truth in front of her, right? When it came to these complaints, Ji Xiaoya started scolding her incessantly. Yi Huanyan couldn't refute a single word and could only lower her head and accept the scolding. Mommy, when will you and Auntie finish talking? I'm hungry. A boy's voice interrupted Ji Xiaoya's scolding and interrupted her anger. Looking up, she saw a little boy sitting in the corner of the private room. He wasn't even as tall as the table. He was holding a tablet in his hands and looking at them with a melancholy expression. This is my son. Yi Huanyan explained awkwardly, Nanao. His real name is Gu Yao. Ji Xiaoya looked at Yi Huanyan, then looked at Nanao. Suddenly, she screamed and pounced over. Oh my God, Yi Huanyan, where did you get such good luck? Your son is so cute. Nanao was in Ji Xiaoya's arms, and she looked at him carefully. Why do you look like you got a new toy? Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. The child is still young. You're going to spoil him. What analogy. This is a living person. How can I bear to spoil my godson? At this moment, Ji Xiaoya was in a very good mood. She pinched Nanao's little face and said, Come home with Godma to play for 2 days, okay? Naneo glanced at his mommy with a questioning look. Without waiting for Yi Huanyan to speak, Ji Xiaoya interrupted. Your mommy's opinion doesn't count. Just listen to me. Godma has a lot of fun things at home. You can have whatever you want. Yi Huanyan's expression froze. Hey, you've been playing with them for 5 years. What's wrong with lending them to me for 2 days? She still said that she didn't treat them as toys? Naneo covered his little face and explained seriously. I'm not asking for my mommy's opinion. What I want to say is that if my mommy leaves me, I'm very worried that her life will be a mess. Some people can fool her with just a few words. Ji Xiaoya looked at Yi Huanyan meaningfully and said in a mocking tone, Some people? You mean Ling Han, right? People in the industry are saying that President Ling of Pleasure Entertainment has a special relationship with President Gu of Haiyan Media. Yi Huanyan felt her face burning. Who was the one who spread the news? The two of them had only appeared in public a few times. Neither of them admitted to anything, and they didn't live together. Ahem, children are spouting nonsense. You believe them? Only children speak the truth. Isn't that right, Naneo? Naneo had always thought that his IQ and age were equal to adults. However, his mommy and the elders at home all treated him like a child. This made him sigh with regret that he was born at the wrong time. Now that he met Ji Xiaoya, he really regretted that he hadn't met her earlier. He looked at Ji Xiaoya seriously and nodded seriously. Yes. Seeing her best friend and son high-fiving in front of her with a sympathetic look, Yi Huanyan suddenly felt like her son had grown up and said faintly, Did the two of you find each other soulmates? One was an old and childish child, while the other was a mature young man who pretended to be deep in thought. They got together. For the sake of my adopted son, I will forgive you for not contacting me in the past 5 years. In addition, this meal is on you. Yi Huanyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay. It's on me. It's on me. You are the chief editor of Fengshang. You even want to bicker with me over a meal. Is it necessary? Why not? If Sister Su Mang hadn't retired early and helped me get the position, I wouldn't have been able to be the chief editor even if I worked for 10 years. There are so many things going on in Fengshang. You don't know it. I'd rather go back and be an assistant. Sister Su Mang has really screwed me over. 3 years ago, Su Mang announced that she would quit the magazine circle and travel around the world with her husband. She gave Fengshang such a popular position to her personal assistant who had only worked in Fengshang for 2 years. At that time, everyone supported the other major shareholder of the board of directors. If they voted collectively, Ji Xiaoya had no chance of winning. Ji Xiaoya might be confused about how she won in the end, but no one forced Yi Huanyan to know better in her heart why Gu Xinian specially came back to China 3 years ago. By the way, my brother, can you not mention these things when you are happy? Yi Huanyan was interrupted by Ji Xiaoya mercilessly before she could finish a sentence. It could be seen that she hadn't let it go at all these years. Chapter 349. Naneo was brought home by Ji Xiaoya. At night, Yi Huanyan returned to the apartment above the company. Looking at the empty house, she suddenly felt a little disappointed. She had been busy preparing for the start of the movie in the past week. Now that the press conference was over, there were still many things waiting for her to do. From tomorrow onwards, she still had to stay at the filming location to follow up on the progress of the movie. When one was busy, they could forget many things, but it was only temporarily. For the past week, except for public appearances, Ling Han had not contacted her again. She flipped through her phone. Apart from the phone bills and text messages, there were all kinds of business partners. She did not see what she was looking for. In a villa in the eastern suburbs by the lake, Ling Han opened a bottle of wine and stood in front of the French windows, looking at the lake in the distance. The moonlight shone on the lake, making it sparkling. 5 years ago, he moved away from his original place and sealed up everything about Yi Huanyan. He treated it as a pack of memories and buried it deep in his heart. He thought that as time passed, he would bury it deeper and deeper. His memory of Yi Huanyan would gradually become blurred, and the pain in his heart would gradually lessen. But he did not expect that he would build a lonely grave in his heart. In the middle of the night, he would always go to pay his respects alone, regardless of the date. Gu Huanyan's appearance made him feel conflicted and filled with emptiness. It made him think that everything was in the past, and that he could start over again. But when she was not around, he missed a dead person even more. He flipped through his phone. There were no messages or calls. This woman was really good at playing hard to get. Just as he was in a daze, the phone screen lit up. It was a call from Secretary Dong. President Ling, I will return to the company tomorrow. There is some progress in the matter you asked me to investigate. I will tell you the details in person. The written information has been sent to your email. Take a look. Have you found Gu Huanyan's previous information? Yes, it is very clear, but what? Just tell me. You will know after you read the information. Placing the wine glass on the coffee table, he leaned over and opened the laptop beside him. He clicked on the latest email in his mailbox and looked at the contents. His face gradually darkened. The next day, filming for Remaining Life officially started at the Lanjiang University town. Sun Yanhua's acting was guided by a professional, and Yi Huanyan was the producer and executive director. Although she was called the executive director, she was actually just assisting from the sidelines. The assistant director was a veteran of romance films in the industry to control the overall situation. This was Sun Yanhua's first time acting. Although his acting skills were lacking, his attitude was very serious. Coupled with his talent in this area, and Guan Nai patiently giving him pointers, the filming was quite satisfactory. After the 2 scenes in the morning were over, Yi Huanyan made some changes to the script after watching the replays with the senior. Then she went into the temporary studio to eat and work. Just as he stuffed the food into his pocket, his phone on the table vibrated twice. He received a text message. I brought you lunch. There are too many people around. I'll wait for you at the university parking lot. You know the car. Her eyes lit up, and she quickly closed her lunchbox and strolled out of the studio. On the way, she met Sun Yanhua and hurriedly said hello, then ran away without saying anything. Sun Yanhua was left standing in the same spot, frowning as he watched the figure run away. He was a little absent-minded. That smile was too familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before. Yi Huanyan was not in the mood to think about anything else. It's been a week. Isn't he the one who bowed down first? When she reached the parking lot, she immediately found the black BMW parked behind the camphor tree. She tidied her hair, walked up leisurely, and knocked on the window. After she got in the car, a steaming lunchbox was stuffed into her hands. It contained 2 meat dishes and 2 vegetable dishes. There was also a thermos on the table, between them with fish soup in it. Thank you. She smiled sincerely and picked up her chopsticks to eat slowly. Ling Han frowned as he looked at her. The way she ate gave him a strong sense of familiarity. She did not like to eat shredded carrots, but she placed them neatly on the side, as if she had obsessive-compulsive disorder. Someone had done something like this before. Who exactly are you? Ling Han's voice was a little low, and it sounded very abrupt in the car. He had asked this question many times, and Yi Huanyan's ears were getting calluses from hearing it. She did not even raise her head as she vaguely said, I'm whoever you want me to be. I'm tired of hearing you ask so many questions. I sent someone to check your information. What did you find? Yi Huanyan lowered her head and was absent-minded. You grew up in China for 20 years and lived in a remote village. Your adoptive parents were very good to you. They also had a son, which means you have an unrelated brother and a sister-in-law. Your sister-in-law didn't like you very much, so she was forced to drop out of school at the age of 18 and became a primary school teacher in the village. That's something that happened more than 10 years ago. You found out quite clearly. Fortunately, you met Gu Xinian 2 years later. You went home with him and became the second daughter of the Gu family again. After that, you did not show your face in public for 7 years. 4 years ago, the Gu family officially introduced you to the public for the first time at the birthday party. At that time, you had just given birth to a son, and your biological father was unknown. Ling Han deliberately emphasized the words biological father was unknown, making it seem even more thought-provoking. Is there a problem? Yi Huanyan wiped her mouth and raised her head to look at him seriously. You're not here to bring me food today, nor to visit me at work. Are you here to ask about my background? I have to know what kind of person the woman sleeping beside me is. Why? Does my background of growing up in the village insult your identity as the president of the pleasure group? Yi Huanyan looked at him calmly. Her eyes were unperturbed. Are you the one who grew up in the village? Ling Han handed a document to her. May I ask how this girl with single eyelids and a cleft lip and palate looks like you? Can you please explain it to me, Miss Gu? Yi Huanyan's eyes froze. She looked at the 18-year-old girl on the document and was a little absent-minded. She was a skinny little girl who looked less than 18 years old. She was born with a cleft lip and palate, single eyelids, small eyes, and rough skin. No matter how one looked at it, she did not look like her current appearance. Seeing her slightly stunned expression, Ling Han thought that she had admitted that her identity was fake. He sneered. Can you explain it? There's nothing to explain. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. Her face was cold. Thank you for letting me see my past appearance. It made a woman like me, who is high above others, realize that it was not easy to get this face of mine. What do you mean? Ling Han's eyes darkened. Yi Huanyan curled the corners of her mouth and put down the document. Since you've investigated so deeply, why didn't you find out that I was burned in a fire 5 years ago and then had plastic surgery afterward? Ling Han's face froze. As for the fact that my child's biological father is unknown, I'm not afraid to tell you if you want to know. My ex-husband died in that fire because he was having an affair with another woman behind my back. He planned to die together with me, but God pitied me. I escaped death and even had a child. Are you satisfied with this explanation, President Ling? Chapter 350. Isn't a woman like me very scary? After the crisp sound of the door closing, Ling Han was the only one left in the car. Beside his feet was a stack of documents thrown by Yi Huanyan. They were scattered all over the car. Ling Han frowned. If it was really as she said, that she had experienced her husband cheating on her, perishing together with her husband, being burned in a fire, and having plastic surgery to restore her appearance, then his actions today were no different from exposing her past, or even exposing her scars. She had already given him face by slamming the door and leaving. But why didn't he believe this woman in his heart? After that day, Ling Han was busy investigating Gu Huanyan's background, while Yi Huanyan was busy filming. They didn't meet each other, but they competed with each other. In the president's office of the pleasure group, Secretary Dong sent a thick stack of documents to Ling Han's desk. Gu Huanyan's ex-husband has been found. His family background is quite good, but he died in a fire 5 years ago. This is a photo. The man in the photo was very good-looking, about 26 or 27 years old. He wore a pair of glasses and looked very gentle. What about the cause of the fire? Have you investigated? It was an accident. A gas explosion. The maid at home was also involved. How old is the maid? In her early 20s, Chinese. She is quite pretty. Her photo is also inside. What happened after that? After that, Gu Huanyan underwent more than 100 plastic surgery operations. According to the information given by the hospital in Florida, Gu Huanyan was indeed sent to their hospital 5 years ago. At that time, there were large areas of burns on her body. This year was her last operation. Hearing this, Ling Han frowned. Everything was as Gu Huanyan said. However, even though this background was flawless, there was something that made him feel that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. It was as if there were some fragments that were intermittently connected in his mind. President Ling, you have investigated President Gu so carefully. Do you have any plans for Haiyan Media? Xiao Dong's voice pulled him back from his thoughts. He was stunned for a few seconds. What did you say? Do you have any plans for Haiyan Media? Hearing this, Ling Han waved his hand. You can leave. I want to be alone for a while. Late at night, the film crew of Lanjiang University Town wrapped up for the night. Yi Huanyan drove to Fengshan alone to pick up Naneo. Because of the start of filming for Remaining Life, she had no choice but to leave Naneo in the care of Ji Xiaoye. When she arrived at Fengshan, she had just gotten out of the car when she received a call from Gu Xinian. She pressed the answer button and leaned against the car door to answer the call. Brother. Yan, I've done what you asked me to do. I've also sent the information that Ling Han wanted. He should have finished reading it by now. Thanks, brother. Why are you being so polite with me? It's just that it's not up to us whether he believes it or not. There are no flaws. Even if he suspects something, he can't do anything. Since you decided to return to his side, why go through so much trouble to create a fake identity? Don't you want me to punish him? The voice on the other end of the phone drawled. Is that so? Are you punishing him? Or do you not want him to know how much you've suffered all these years? Are you afraid that he'll blame himself? It's fine to lie to others, but do you think I can't tell? Brother, Yan. A sweet voice came from behind, interrupting Yi Huanyan's attempt to act coquettishly with the person on the other end of the phone. She was startled by the force on her shoulder. She turned around and was stunned. Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoye stood in front of her. She wore a white shirt with a large white bow on the chest and a long black mermaid skirt that revealed half of her calves. She wore 12-centimeter high heels on her feet, making her look tall and imposing. However, her smile was a little too sweet. I saw your car upstairs, but you didn't come up for a long time. Who were you calling? Yi Huanyan's expression froze. What's with that expression? Ji Xiaoye looked confused. Gu Xinian's stiff voice came from beside her ear. Why don't I hang up first? Yi Huanyan's eyes flashed when she heard this. She suddenly put on a sly expression and covered the receiver of the phone. She whispered to Ji Xiaoye, It's my mother. Masterwen? Ji Xiaoye's eyes lit up and she shrieked. Can I speak to Masterwen for a while? No, just one sentence will do. Ji Xiaoye had admired Wen Yi for a long time. The Wen family was a well-known family of Chinese jewelry designers in Northern Europe. Wen Yi was the only successor of the Wen family's jewelry design skills. Many of her works were treasured in the Museum of Treasures, and the few that were sold at sky-high prices. Yi Huanyan coughed twice. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure. All right then. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and let go of the receiver. Xiaoyu wants to speak to you. After the person on the other end of the line responded, Yi Huanyan handed the phone to Ji Xiaoye. She picked up the phone without saying anything. Auntie, I'm Xiaoyu, Yan's best friend. Did you know that I admire all of your works very much? Especially the Love of the Stars set that you won at the 12th Annual Jewelry Awards. I've always wanted to get to know you, Xiaoyu, it's me. The deep voice on the other end of the line drowned out Ji Xiaoye's monologue. Those 4 simple words caused her mind to go blank. She didn't know when, but she was the only one left in front of the Fengshan building. Her back was to a car, and Yi Huanyan was nowhere to be found. People were coming and going on the road in the distance, but she could only hear those 4 words. Xiaoyu, it's me. After a long time, her voice sounded in front of the spacious building. I'm sorry, I got the wrong person. After the call ended, she gripped the phone tighter in her hand. Only she knew that the moment she heard his voice, thousands of answers flashed through her mind crazily. But none of them were the words she had just heard. It's you. Long time no see. How have you been? Yes, I'm Xiaoyu. It's been 5 years. Why didn't you contact me? Gu Xinian, you bastard. In the chief editor of Fengshan's office, the little boy was sleeping soundly on the small bed in the cubicle. Yi Huanyan covered him with the quilt that had been kicked away. Well, he was young and mature. After all, he was still a child. The door opened outside the cubicle. Ji Xiaoya was sitting behind the desk with her eyes lowered. She looked very depressed. Xiaoyu. Yi Huanyan closed the cubicle door and walked into her office. He looked embarrassed. What's wrong? Your phone. She glanced at the desk, sadly. I think my brother has you in his heart. It's just that there are some things that he needs to deal with himself. Forget it. Don't mention him. I'm sorry. Yi Huanyan suddenly regretted taking the initiative to let Ji Xiaoya answer Gu Xinyan's call, when she was completely unprepared. After Gu Xinyan disappeared from the face of the earth 5 years ago, no matter what channels Ji Xiaoya used to try to find him, he always avoided her. The most recent time was at her birthday party 2 years ago. As the chief editor of Feng Shang, Ji Xiaoya attended the opening dance. After the opening dance, Yi Huanyan wore a mask and watched Ji Xiaoya search the entire hall. Gu Xinyan's figure was drowned in the crowd. Chapter 351. Why are you apologizing to me? There's nothing to be sorry about. Xiaoyu. Yi Huanyan sighed and said in frustration, I can't even figure out my own affairs. How can I meddle in your affairs? I feel so useless. Ji Xiaoya was silent behind the desk for a few seconds. Suddenly, she stood up with her hands on the desk. Come with me to the nightclub tonight. Who will love only one person in their life? Yi Huanyan stared at her for a long time. Are you crazy? Who's crazy? Are you going or not? If not, we're not friends anymore. Nao, my assistant will keep an eye on you. Are you going or not? Ji Xiaoya bent down and acted aggressively as the chief editor of Feng Shang. Yi Huanyan made up her mind. I'm going. In the old times bar, the music was deafening. Men and women were dancing on the dance floor. The red and green lights swept the whole place, burning the whole place. After Ji Xiaoya and Yi Huanyan entered the door, everyone's attention was on them. Ji Xiaoya was wearing an off-shoulder black shirt with a bow loosely tied around her waist, revealing her slender waist. She was wearing a black leather skirt that wrapped around her hips. She looked very dark. Yi Huanyan, on the other hand, was wearing a dark gold tight-fitting dress that revealed a large portion of her chest. Her entire body was like a sparkling water snake as she swayed along the aisle. The lighting engineer seemed to like them very much. The spotlight followed them all the way to the booth where they were sitting. When the light finally moved away from them, Yi Huanyan pulled the strap on her shoulder unnaturally. She looked embarrassed. Hey, Xiaoyu, I'm not used to this dress. Does it really look good? Why does it feel weird? This is the main style of Barley's show this year. Only you can wear it because you have a good figure. Most people can't wear it. As Ji Xiaoya spoke, she winked at the men on the edge of the dance floor. Following her gaze, Yi Huanyan glanced at the non-mainstream men writhing crazily on the dance floor. She was deeply shocked and the smile on her face froze. Even if you want to have fun, you should find someone who looks normal. Do you have to be so desperate? Is it bad? I think it's not bad. Ji Xiaoya raised her eyebrows and looked indifferent. While they were talking, the waiter served 2 glasses of wine. They were red, yellow, and blue, with a small cherry on the rim of the glasses. We didn't order wine. Yi Huanyan was hesitant. It's from the gentleman over there. The waiter pointed to a place not far behind Yi Huanyan. Following the waiter's direction, Yi Huanyan looked back. Diagonally behind her, there were 3 men sitting in a booth 2 tables away. They were wearing the same style of flowery shirts with a circle of fancy things hanging around their necks. They were either heartless rich second-generation heirs or ignorant tycoons. Yi Huanyan shuddered. Thank you, gentlemen. Please take these 2 glasses of wine back. We don't need them. Ji Xiaoya frowned and stopped the waiter. Isn't it just a glass of wine? If worst comes to worst, we can just invite them back. Please send the most expensive wine to those 3 gentlemen and put on my tab. After hearing her bold words, the waiter ran away faster than a rabbit. He didn't care about Yi Huanyan's attitude at all. After the waiter left, Yi Huanyan rolled her eyes at her. Which of the 3 men over there do you want to sleep with? If you want to sleep with even one of them, I won't stop you tonight. You're crazy. In this world, only good-looking and well-dressed men are good men. Ji Xiaoye drank some wine. Although she wasn't drunk, her eyes were misty. Ling Han is good-looking and well-dressed. He has good taste and is a popular lover. Is he a good man? Bullshit. Your brother is better-looking and well-dressed. He's as rich as a country. Is he a good man? Yi Huanyan was speechless. She could only drink with her. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. Only by getting drunk could one resolve 1,000 worries. After 3 rounds of drinking, Ji Xiaoye was already dizzy. She cursed, Gu Xinian is a bastard. She also desperately asked the waiter to bring her more wine. How was this seeking pleasure? She was clearly getting drunk. Yi Huanyan was a good drinker. From time to time, he would accompany her to drink a few glasses. For safety reasons, he didn't let himself drink too much. Beauty, do me the honor of dancing. Yi Huanyan waved her hand and said apologetically, I'm sorry, we are waiting for someone. Yi Huanyan didn't know how many waves of wretched men were standing beside her. The uncle had a red hairstyle that resembled a salted egg Superman. The muscles on his face could be squeezed out 2 kilograms of oil. He walked with a light gait. It was obvious that he had drunk a lot. He stared at Ji Xiaoye with greasy eyes. Who are you waiting for? It's already 12 o'clock. You've been stood up, right? Why don't you play with me? I'll make sure you have fun. Okay, let's go. Ji Xiaoye was drunk. She slammed the table and stood up. She even took the initiative to put her arm around the uncle's shoulder. She looked like she was offering herself to him for free. The uncle's face immediately turned red. Beauty, let's go. Yi Huanyan was anxious. She stood up and grabbed Ji Xiaoye. She apologized to the uncle again. We're really waiting for someone. Her boyfriend will be here soon. Brother, I'm so sorry. I don't have a boyfriend. Ji Xiaoye shook off her hand and sighed. Your brother doesn't want me anymore. That bastard. Yi Huanyan wanted to pull her away, but the uncle stopped him. He looked impatient. Hey, what's wrong with you? I'm dancing with this beauty, willingly. Why are you interfering? Stay here. With that, he pulled Ji Xiaoye onto the dance floor. Yi Huanyan couldn't stop him. After Ji Xiaoye's figure disappeared into the crowd, Yi Huanyan only saw a fiery red nose shining in the crowd from a distance. She was going to follow them, but there was earthquake on the dance floor. If she didn't follow the rhythm, she would be knocked around. She only took 2 steps before she was knocked around by the men and women who were shaking their heads wildly. In the end, 2 kind girls couldn't stand it anymore and pulled her out of the dance floor. She held the railing and walked back the way she came. She watched Ji Xiaoye and the uncle's crazy dance across the edge of the dance floor. She took out her phone to take a video of the scene and sent it directly to the culprit on the other side of the ocean. Gu Xinian's call soon came. Yi Huanyan had to find a quiet place to answer it. She held the phone for a long time and finally found a quiet place in the bathroom. Gu Xinian's anxious voice came from the phone. Where are you? Yi Huanyan sighed. Old-time bar on Jiangbin Bar Street in Lanjiang City. What's the point of asking these questions? You can't come. Where is she? Let her answer the phone. Don't. She's drunk out of her mind. Believe it or not, she'll only call you a bastard when she answers the phone. Why is it so quiet? The voice on the other end suddenly sank. Where are you now? The bathroom. Didn't I answer your call? Hang up the phone now and go back immediately. I have a feeling that something is going to happen to her. Chapter 352. Yi Huanyan was initially skeptical of Gu Xinian's words, but after hanging up the phone and returning to the bar, she witnessed her brother's prophecy with her own eyes. There was a commotion on the dance floor, and the crowd was in chaos. Yi Huanyan stood in the same spot, only to see a red airplane head disappear into the crowd with a whoosh sound, followed by the sound of electrical circuits. Immediately, the tremors on the dance floor stopped abruptly, accompanied by a man's roar. F***ck. Are you a F** king dog? Did you bite someone? B***tch. You're the one who bit me. Hearing the voice, Yi Huanyan rushed into the crowd and saw Ji Xiaoya in the middle of the crowd. The uncle with the airplane head fell to the ground at this moment, staring at the situation in front of him with a shocked expression. Obviously, he was also stunned. The one who was bitten was the man of the couple. At this moment, he was holding his arm and glaring at Ji Xiaoya angrily. Seeing that he was about to hit Ji Xiaoya, the uncle with the airplane had finally came to his senses and stood up from the ground to protect Ji Xiaoya behind him. He tried to smooth things over and said, "Hey brother, let's talk nicely. Don't hit me." Yi Huanyan squeezed through the crowd desperately, thinking that this uncle with the airplane head was still loyal. "What do you mean don't hit me? Your girl bit mine first. Are you crazy? That's because I saw you acting like a hooligan." Ji Xiaoya stubbornly stuck her head out from behind the uncle with the airplane head, looking like she was adding fuel to the fire. Just as she said something, she was pulled back behind by the uncle with the airplane head. "Hey, my lady, you can shut up. I saw it." He touched her butt. Following Ji Xiaoya's hand, the crowd's eyes fell on the couple, and the crowd was in an uproar. Although this kind of thing was common in the bar, the crowd was looking for fun. So naturally, they didn't mind watching the show. The woman covered her face and hid behind the man. She looked extremely embarrassed. The man was flustered and exasperated. "This is my girlfriend. What does it have to do with you? Why did you bite me? Little brother, I'm really sorry. My little sister drank too much today. Stop F***king bullsh**. T. You bit me today. If I get rabies, who will be responsible for it? Then what do you want? Cut the crap. Pay for the medical fees and mental damages. How much do you want?" The man counted with his fingers and pondered for a few seconds before raising his palm. 50,000. It was just a bite, but he asked for 50,000 yuan. This was obviously a scam. Yi Huanyan was blocked by the crowd. Hearing this, she quickly squeezed her way out. Before she could squeeze through, she heard the voice of the man at the head of the plane. He looked relieved. "Isn't it just 50,000 yuan? Okay, don't spoil everyone's mood. Go do what you need to do. I'll transfer the money to you through your phone." After the uncle at the head of the plane said this, Yi Huanyan finally squeezed her way out of the crowd. She staggered to Ji Xiaoya's side and supported her. Good Lord, he was so drunk that he couldn't even open his eyes. He was still cursing. 50,000 yuan, right? I'll pay. Thank you, uncle. Yi Huanyan supported Ji Xiaoya with one hand and took out her phone. She glanced at the man who had been bitten. "Big brother, give me your account number. I'll transfer the money to you now." The man turned around to look at his girlfriend. His eyes shifted, and he suddenly changed his words. "I didn't finish just now. 50,000 is definitely not enough. I want 100,000. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan frowned and slowly raised her head. The uncle at the head of the plane next to her also said in a low voice, "How could a man go back on his words? You said 50,000 yuan, so it's 50,000 yuan. I didn't bargain at all. You can't just raise the price like that." This man obviously saw that Yi Huanyan and the uncle were not poor people. When they said 50,000 yuan, they agreed without batting an eye. That was why this man had crooked thoughts. "That 50,000 yuan just now was mine. The 50,000 yuan I want now is my girlfriend's. You're talking nonsense in front of so many people. Doesn't my girlfriend care about her reputation? This is the compensation for her emotional distress." He was quite eloquent. The uncle's face darkened. "Young man, you can't be like this." The wretched man looked like he was used to the nightclub. When he saw this, he sneered. "What? I don't think you're lacking 100,000 yuan. Besides, I'm the victim. I'll take whatever I say. What if we don't pay?" Yi Huanyan's voice carried some indifference. Her gaze looked over the uncle's shoulder and landed on the wretched man. "Yo, beauty, you might not know whose territory this bar is." "I really don't know." Haven't you heard of my big brother, Black Dragon? When the two words Black Dragon were mentioned, the man's face was full of arrogance. The uncle hurriedly turned his head and said in a low voice, "Girl, Black Dragon is the boss of this territory. Forget it, forget it. Let's not fight with people like him. Isn't it just money? We don't lack this little bit of money. I'll pay for you. After all, I brought him here." However, Yi Huanyan's eyes turned cold. "I don't care if you're Black Dragon or White Worm. I'm only telling you, if you want 50,000 yuan, then it's 50,000 yuan. Not a cent more." The wretched man's face darkened. *TCH, I think you need to be taught a lesson. If you have the guts, stand here and don't move. Xiao Tian called Big Brother. You're the only one who knows how to call, right? We'll call too. Ji Xiaoya snatched Yi Huanyan's phone. Xuan said, "Call, we'll call too." The uncle frowned and looked embarrassed. "Girl, if you do this, I can't help you. Black Dragon is not to be trifled with. I still have to take care of my old age." Yi Huanyan was busy snatching her phone from Ji Xiaoya and did not have time to respond to the uncle. She hurriedly turned her head and smiled apologetically. It's okay. We can handle it ourselves. Uncle, you can leave first." Just as the uncle left, the wretched man's voice came from the other side of the phone. "Big brother, it's me. Something happened at the Old Times bar. Can you come over? Someone's causing trouble." As he spoke, Ji Xiaoya waved her phone and said fiercely to the wretched man, "You're the only one who has a big brother. We have one too." Yi Huanyan raised her head and looked to the sky. Her expression froze. The caller ID did show the word brother. Before she could snatch the phone, Ji Xiaoya had already picked up the call. In front of Yi Huanyan, she shouted into the phone, "Big brother, I have someone causing trouble here. Bring more people over. The more the better." Yi Huanyan's expression froze. She watched as Ji Xiaoya shouted into her phone heroically. Those who did not know better would have thought that the other party was a mafia boss. She really wanted to see Gu Xinyan's reaction on the other end of the phone. The evils she brought upon herself were the hardest to bear. The wretched man on the other side of the phone did not seem to want to lose. He raised his voice. "Big brother, I only have 2 women here, but they look like they have some background. Bring more people." Ji Xiaoya's voice grew louder as she shouted, "Brother, I only have 1 stinking hooligan here. How dare he say that it's right to touch someone's butt? Bring more people over to beat him up." Yi Huanyan did not know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 353. Small conflicts escalated to big conflicts, leading to fights between the two parties seemed to be a common occurrence in bars. However, people who went to nightclubs to have fun were always hot-blooded. They never got tired of such lively events, as if they were attending a feast. Within 10 minutes, the news of someone smashing up the Old Times bar had spread throughout the entire bar street. As a result, the entire bar was surrounded from the inside out. If one wanted to enter after 20 minutes, they would have to pay the entrance fee or prove their relationship with the person involved. Ji Xiaoya hung up the phone without giving Yi Huanyan a chance to speak. She belched and glared at the other party. "Just wait. My brother's men will be here soon." The wretched man sneered. His gaze fell on the back of the crowd. "Is that so? But my brother is already here." The crowd split into 2, making a path in the middle. 7 or 8 strong men wearing black t-shirts with a green dragon pattern strode in. Each of them was fat and strong, looking fierce. The leader had a golden necklace that was comparable to a dog chain around his neck. His shiny bald head shone like a walking light bulb. The bald man looked around and asked coldly, "Who's smashing up the bar?" The wretched man hurriedly trotted over. "Brother, it's the 2 of them." The bald man's gaze swept from Yi Huanyan to Ji Xiaoya. "Just these 2 girls?" "Not only that. An old man just ran away. He must have gone to get help. That woman was on the phone just now. She was also looking for help. She said that she's going to smash our bar." Hearing this, the bald man's face darkened. He turned to look at Yi Huanyan. Just the two of you? You want to smash our bar? You bit my arm. The wretched man stood at the side and fanned the flames. Yi Huanyin frowned. We didn't say that we were going to smash your bar. The bald man glanced at her and asked, Did you bite my brother's arm? Yi Huanyin pursed her lips. Ji Xiaoya, who was beside her, broke free. Yes, I did. What's wrong? This rascal. Not only did I want to bite him, I wanted to slap him. The bald man's face completely darkened. I don't hit women, but since you're causing trouble in my territory, I won't be polite. I'll have to trouble the two ladies to come with us. Don't delay the other guests. As he spoke, the two big men behind him walked forward and were about to arrest them. Who wants to smash my bar? A voice came out from the crowd. It was very cold and carried a bit of disdain. The bald man's eyes froze. He stared blankly at the person who came and said respectfully, Boss, why are you here? Why are you disturbed by such a small matter? Yi Huanyin frowned and sized up the person who came. He looked to be about 25 or 26 years old. He was wearing a casual suit. He had almond-shaped eyes and looked a bit evil. The man frowned and walked out from the crowd. He glanced at the wretched man. I've been standing here for a long time. I wanted to see who this big brother he was talking about was. I didn't expect it to be someone familiar. Xiaolong interesting. Who is this person to you? Why haven't I seen him before? Boss, this is my brother. Everyone was shocked. It was the man who walked out from the crowd. He held a magazine in his hand and smashed it hard on the bald man's head. Yi Huanyin also gasped. The bald man was hit so hard that he lost all face. He kept his head down and didn't dare to resist. The wretched man didn't dare to say anything. He stood at the side, his legs shaking like a sieve. The two of you are frightened. The man looked at Yi Huanyin. My subordinates don't know how to behave. I'll go back and teach them a lesson. As for today's matter, we'll settle the bill according to the previous agreement of 50,000 yuan. We won't mention it again. What do the two of you think? What about you? The man looked at the wretched man. No need. The wretched man stuttered. Account. I'll transfer the money to you. Yi Huanyin looked at the wretched man coldly. She had just taken the phone from Ji Xiaoya's hand and switched to the transfer interface. After the transfer was successful, the man glanced at the bald man. He hurriedly took the wretched man's phone and held it up in front of the crowd. He stuttered. Everyone here can be witnesses to today's matter. No one in the bar caused trouble today. Our boss has made sure that the matter was settled fairly and according to the wishes of both parties. In the future, we still welcome all of you to the bar to drink. The safety here is still guaranteed, and there won't be any bullying. The applause didn't come. Instead, the crowd kept booing for a long time. Boring. Where's the promised fight? There's only thunder and no rain. It's probably a scam. Is this how the bar advertises these days? The parties involved, Yi Huanyin, the wretched man, the bald man, and the boss, who came out of nowhere, were all dumbfounded. Were the onlookers these days so hot-blooded? Outside the Old Times bar, the onlookers waved their hands to indicate that the people queuing to buy tickets to enter the bar had dispersed. The overcrowded sign at the door was also quickly removed. Seeing that there were more people coming out than going in, Janine, who had just been surrounded by a group of people, was at a loss. She pulled the waiter at the door and asked, What's going on? Is there a fire inside? No. The onlookers have dispersed. What's going on? Aya, why isn't third sister here yet? She's the slowest. If she's late, there won't even be a speck of excitement left. Chun-In anxiously looked at her sisters behind her. Next to her, Su Hong was holding a powder box in her hand and was busy touching up her makeup. Aya, Xiaowu, why are you in such a hurry? You just came back from the competition, and you're in such a hurry to see your man. A man like this will easily run away. Who said I was going to see him? Chun-In raised her eyebrows and looked arrogant. I'm clearly here to join in the fun. Opposite her, Zhuang Suqiu stubbed out her cigarette and glanced behind Chinyin. Third sister is here. In the distance, a woman trotted over to the three of them in her high heels. As soon as she steadied herself, she panted and looked apologetic. I'm sorry. I had a bill tonight and I was late. A bunch of old men almost drank me to death. I'm sorry. I'll be the one paying the bill later. Su Hong laughed and looked at Chinyin. She joked, Is it your turn to pay the bill? Don't you know who the boss here is? Hearing this, Gu Fengfeng also laughed. How could I forget? We have the lady boss here. Chinyin panicked and looked at Zhuang Suqiu. Big sister, look at them bullying people. Why don't you do something about it? Zhuang Suqiu raised her eyebrows, and a rare trace of craftiness appeared in her eyes. They're wrong. To be precise, it should be the future lady boss. Big sister, all right. Stop fooling around. Hurry up and go in. You're almost 2 hours late. You're not allowed to mention this in front of him. I don't intend to agree to it. Agree to what? Xiao Wu, tell us. You. I'm not going to tell you. Chapter 354. Yi Huanyan finally managed to drag the crazed Ji Xiaoya back to the booth with much difficulty. She felt that she had used up half of her lifetime's worth of energy. The man who had just come to the rescue asked the waiter to bring a bottle of wine over, saying that it was an apology for not taking care of them properly. While the waiter was opening the bottle, Yi Huanyan asked, Is that person your boss? Yes, he is. As they spoke, the wine had already been opened. The waiter said respectfully, Miss, your wine has been opened. Call me if you need anything. The boss said that as an apology, all the wine you drink tonight will be free of charge. Thank your boss for me. You're welcome. Enjoy your wine. After the waiter left, Ji Xiaoya took the lead and downed a glass of wine. Her face was flushed red as she smiled and said, That's great. I don't have to worry about spending too much money when I drink tonight. Great my ass. Yi Huanyan rolled her eyes at her. You can drink, but if you go dancing again, I won't come to a bar with you for the rest of my life. Gu Xinian was too. He said that he would come to the rescue, but he was too unreliable. He still hadn't come. If it weren't for the fact that the boss was here, she and Ji Xiaoya wouldn't even have bones left tonight. Thinking of this, she took out her phone and wanted to call Gu Xinian back to ask him to withdraw his men. Chinyin brought the three sisters into the bar. Chu Qianqua was drinking at the bar. He had just picked up his glass when he saw her. He hurriedly put down his glass and walked up to her with open arms. Yinin, you're finally here. The moment he saw Chinyin, the devilish charm on his face turned into sincere gentleness. Chinyin didn't appreciate it. She bent down and slipped under his armpit, avoiding his embrace. She walked towards the lobby and asked, Isn't there a commotion? Where's the commotion? Chu Qianqua missed and looked at the three sisters in front of him awkwardly. Su Hong looked at him mockingly and teased. Little Chu, our little five, was shouting at the entrance that she was here to watch the show. Where's the show here? Chu Qianqua rubbed his nose and laughed dryly. He turned around and said, It's been settled just now. Xiaolong's cousin got into a conflict with a guest because of something. It's two ladies, and they had a fight. I promised Yinin that I wouldn't let my subordinates fight in the future, so I mediated. I only told you not to fight. I didn't say you should take care of others. Chinyin rolled her eyes at him, somewhat disappointed. Chu Qianqua immediately felt a little uneasy. Should I let them fight again? As soon as she said that, the three people behind her laughed. Before Chinyin could say anything, she was embarrassed by their laughter. She deliberately glared at Chu Qianqua and said, Why are you laughing? Are you stupid? Su Hong teased. Boss Chu was originally quite carefree, but he only became a little stupid after meeting you. You don't know how to appreciate romance. Serves you right for being single until now. Chinyin blushed and coughed dryly. She deliberately changed the topic and said, Don't listen to their nonsense. What happened to the two ladies? How did they settle it in the end? Chu Qianqua hurriedly pointed in the direction of the booth. The drunk lady bit Xiaolong's cousin. We agreed to pay them 50,000 yuan, so I let them pay. Then, I gave the two ladies a bottle of wine, and their bill tonight was waived. It's considered giving both parties face. What do you think? Chu Qingqua's attitude was really sincere. Su Hong and Gu Fengfeng looked at each other and smiled. They both gave Chu Qingqua a thumbs up. TSK, TSK, TSK. As a big boss, he made the decision to give someone something to settle the troublemaker. But he still has to humbly ask our Xiaowu if she's okay. Xiaowu, if I were 10 years younger, I would marry him no matter what. Do you believe me? If it were any other time, Chen Yin would have chased after Su Hong and hit her with a red face. She didn't know why, but at this moment, her gaze crossed the dance floor and landed in the direction of the booth. She gradually frowned and said in a deep voice, Chu Qingqua, the two ladies you're talking about, are they the two in booth 202? Chu Qingqua nodded and said in a gentle voice, yes, it's booth 202. I just gave them a bottle of Lafite. The waiter just confirmed the seat number with me. You just said that you made them pay 50,000 yuan? Yes. After all, it's two ladies, so I didn't ask them to pay more. Chu Qingqua, are we done? After saying this, Chen Yin plunged into the crowd. She completely ignored Chu Qingqua's surprised expression and looked inquiringly at Zhuang Suqiu and the other two. Zhuang Suqiu and the other two didn't understand what was going on either. They shook their heads and hurriedly followed her. Yi Huanyan was about to call Gu Sinian when a shadow suddenly blocked the light in front of her. She looked up in a daze and saw that it was Chen Yin. Her eyes lit up. Xiaowu, why are you here? Is your competition over? Chen Yin's face darkened. She didn't waste any time and said directly, Sister Yan Yan, I'm really sorry for making you worry tonight. I'll make it up to you another day. Tonight, let's drink somewhere else. Let's go. Yi Huanyan was confused by this conversation and was stunned on the spot. Xiaowu, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? A familiar voice came from behind Chen Yin. After seeing the three people, Yi Huanyan's expression froze. Zhuang Suqiu saw Yi Huanyan and was slightly stunned. President Gu? The Zhuang Yu group was in charge of the clothing production of the remaining life. As the current successor of the Zhuang Yu group, Zhuang Suqiu had met Yi Huanyan once. You know each other? Chu Qingqua's voice interrupted. Not only do we know each other, the four of us know each other. Chen Yin stared coldly at Chu Qingqua. She's also one of our sisters who went through thick and thin together. She's even closer to us than my biological sisters. How dare you ask my sister to pay a rogue 50,000 yuan? Is there something wrong with your brain? Sisters who went through thick and thin together? Without a doubt, it could only be the group of people in the fourth prison. While Chen Yin and Chu Qingqua were arguing, Zhuang Suqiu and the other two were looking at Yi Huanyan. Gu Huanyan, Yi Huanyan. Zhuang Suqiu looked at her with a frown. She seemed to be suspecting something, but she didn't dare to believe it. Gu Fengfeng took a step forward and hesitated. 5 years ago, Gu Fengfeng only said 3 words before she gasped. Her tone was bitter, as if she didn't even have the strength to mention the incident 5 years ago. Yi Huanyan clenched her fingers and looked up. Third sister, long time no see. Everything was clear when she called her third sister. The most surprised person was Su Hong. She looked at Yi Huanyan in confusion. What third sister? Who are you? Gu Fengfeng stood rooted to the ground, crying and laughing. Zhuang Suqiu slowly said, but it was quickly drowned out by the sound waves. She's Yan Yan. Su Hong's body swayed. Fortunately, Chen Yin reacted quickly and stopped arguing with Chu Qingqua. She reached out and supported her. Second sister, are you okay? Su Hong waved her hand and looked shocked. Big sister said that she's Yan Yan? Didn't Yan 5 years ago? Chen Yin frowned. She is. Yi Huanyan felt a little guilty facing this group of sisters who remembered her. She didn't know how to say it. There are too many things that I can't explain clearly in the past 5 years. I'm very sorry that I couldn't send you a letter. I'm really sorry. I wanted to find a suitable time to meet you again, but I didn't expect. Zhuang Suqiu took a deep breath, as if she had just recovered from this fact. She looked at Chun-in faintly. Little 5, did you already know? Chapter 355. Big Sis. I also met Big Sis Yen during the competition in Iceland. Didn't I just return to China? Chun-in said with an aggrieved expression. Then, she turned around and glared at Chu Chenqua. It's all his fault. He messed up Big Sis Yan's plan. I was going to plan a surprise for everyone. The owner of the bar, Chu Chenqua, who was rolled his eyes for no reason, felt very wronged. Zhuang Suqiu looked at Yi Huanyan with a bit of blame in her eyes. Speaking of which, I seem to be the first one to meet Yen here. I didn't expect that even after meeting her, Yen wouldn't acknowledge me as her big sis. Big sis, I didn't mean to hide it from you. This isn't the place to talk. Yi Huanyan looked around and looked at Zhuang Suqiu awkwardly. Then let's go somewhere else. The one who suggested this was Su Hong. She was the most straightforward and smooth person here. When she saw that Chun-in was blaming Chu Chenqua because of Yi Huanyan, and that her big sis was a bit angry because Yi Huanyan didn't acknowledge her, she knew that they couldn't talk clearly in this noisy place, so they had to go somewhere else. The private room of the Old Times bar had good soundproofing. No matter how loud the sound outside was, it was blocked out. Chun-in was at odds with Chu Chenqua. At first, she wanted to leave and didn't want to stay in the bar. It was only after Su Hong persuaded her that she stopped. At this moment, the private room was too quiet. Ji Xiaoye drank an entire bottle of red wine and was helped in. She was already unconscious and sleeping on the sofa. Yi Huanyan was sitting on a chair, separated by the coffee table. The 4 sisters were sitting on the sofa in front of her. It was like a 3-way trial. Among the 4 of them, Chun-in was the easiest to talk to. When they were in Iceland, she had already explained it once. Now, she could help Yi Huanyan say a few words. 5 years ago, the last person Yi Huanyan saw was Gu Fengfeng. No one knew what happened before better than Gu Fengfeng, so it was easy to talk to her. Su Hong had always been straightforward. After hearing about the car accident, she was relieved and didn't have the heart to ask about other things. Big Sister was the only one who had a sullen expression on her face. After everyone had asked the question one by one, she said faintly, "So, you the one who instructed Haiyan Media, who was in the limelight, to suddenly propose a collaboration with Zhuang Yu Group and deliberately go easy on me during the negotiation?" Yi Huanyan smiled awkwardly. "I didn't let you win on purpose. Zhuang Yu Group's clothing is really good. I plan to work with them for a long time in the future." When she returned to China, she found out that Zhuang Suqiu's divorce case had been going on for 3 years. She was the scapegoat for that man and spent 5 years in prison. After she was released, she became a mistress and moved in with her family. She even gave birth to a son. Her ex-husband was unwilling to divorce her because it involved the division of many assets and the custody of Zhuang Suqiu's daughter. This case went on for 3 years. Zhuang Suqiu had a criminal record, so the distribution of custody was mostly biased towards a man. In the end, she had no choice but to give in and leave the marriage with nothing in exchange for the custody of her daughter. A year ago, the husband and wife of Zhuang Yu Group's chairman couldn't stand the rumors and finally died of depression. They left the group, which was now in a precarious situation, to her. Therefore, when Yi Huanyan decided to collaborate with Zhuang Yu Group, she didn't even think about it and made a huge concession in terms of the price. However, Zhuang Suqiu had always been proud and arrogant. She was afraid that Zhuang Suqiu wouldn't accept her identity after she found out, so she kept it secret. However, paper couldn't wrap fire, so it still led to the awkward situation today. Yi Huanyan carefully observed Zhuang Suqiu's expression. "Big sister, it doesn't matter who earns the money. It's all the same." There was silence in the air for a long time. Zhuang Suqiu looked at her and took a deep breath. "Come on, you gave away tens of millions of profit just because you said so. It's all the same. If it were someone else, would you be willing to let them earn this money?" Seeing that everyone was nervous, Zhuang Suqiu suddenly laughed out loud. What's wrong with you? Seeing that I cheated Yan Yan of her money, all of you are thinking that it's easier to cheat Yan Yan of her money. Do you think that I'm pretending to be innocent after getting such a good deal? Let me tell you, don't even think about it. I'm personally borrowing this money from Yan Yan. When Zhuang Yu Group stabilizes next year, I'll give Yan Yan a big gift. The atmosphere calmed down, and Su Hong breathed a sigh of relief. Hey, big sister, you should have said so earlier. You scared me. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that you were going to play with us. Chun-Yin also laughed. That's right. You scared me to death. You were so serious. After explaining everything clearly, Su Hong secretly sent a text message. After a series of knocks on the door, a waiter pushed a trolley in. There were 2 bottles of champagne in the ice bucket and a variety of colorful cocktails on the trolley. Behind the waiter was the bar owner. What are you doing here? Chun-Ing frowned and her face darkened. She stared unhappily at the tall man behind the waiter, who was nervous. Chu Tianhua said nervously, I'm bringing some food and drinks for everyone. How much? I'll pay. With that, Chun-Yin took out money from her bag and stuffed it into the man's hands. Yin, the 1.8 tall man hugged the pile of cash and swore to the heavens, I really didn't know that was your sister. If I knew, I would have personally chopped off that rascal's hand and made wine for my sister. Yi Huanyan could also see that the bar owner and Chun-Yin had an ambiguous relationship. He had already gone to this extent, but Chun-Yin still treated him as a brother. Her unromantic expression was really infuriating. Zhuang Suqiu waved at Yi Huanyan and patted the seat beside her for her to sit down. She whispered into her ear, This bar is opened by Little Chu. He's chasing after Xiaowu now. Xiaowu is just pretending not to know. Yi Huanyan looked at the scene of Chun-Yin pushing Chu Tianhua out of the private room. She was a bit confused. Isn't this acting a bit too much? Su Hong leaned over from Zhuang Suqiu. Isn't it Little Chu's fault for being ignorant and incompetent before? Of all things, he mixed with the underworld to collect protection fees. He even cheated Xiaowu of a large sum of money. Xiaowu is also a fool. After being sold, she's still helping others count money while squatting in a cell. She's always talking about how good her big brother is. You're saying that this boss Chu is Xiaowu's big brother before? Yi Huanyan widened her eyes. Isn't that so? Gu Fengfeng also leaned over and said mysteriously, after Xiaowu was released from prison, she found out that Little Chu wasn't a gang's young master at all. He was just a rich second generation who watched too many movies and ran out to be a gangster after arguing with his family. He had a falling out with his parents and spent all his money. When he saw that Xiaowu was good at fighting, he tricked Xiaowu and a bunch of other gangsters and followed him all the way to Lanjiang City and made a name for themselves. Rich second generation? Liar? Yi Huanyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He's considered a spoiled brat. Then how did he get in touch with Xiaowu? Su Hong continued. After Xiaowu was released from prison, she couldn't find him for more than a year, so she returned to the martial arts center. 3 years ago, she won the national martial arts competition in the female category. Coincidentally, it was her 18th birthday, so her martial arts center brothers brought her to old times to celebrate. Chapter 356. Just like that. Yes, an ill-fated relationship. Su Hong clicked her tongue and sighed. You don't know, but I was there that day, so I can be considered a witness. I told Xiaowu to bring her martial brothers to my place, but she refused to listen. Isn't this a coincidence? Gu Fengfeng interrupted. Come on, second sister. Xiaowu's martial arts club is filled with a bunch of 18 or 19-year-olds. If she goes to your place, those girls under you will throw themselves at her. I'm afraid that those hot-blooded youths won't be able to keep their reputation. Yi Huanyan's mouth twitched. She lowered her voice and said, Sister Hong, don't tell me you're still doing that kind of business? Screw you. Su Hong rolled her eyes at Gu Fengfeng and said righteously, Don't listen to Feng Feng's nonsense. My place is a proper place. I accompany people to drink, play, and sing, but I don't accompany them to sleep. At the very least, you're not allowed to do that kind of business in my place. Moreover, all the girls there are highly educated. The lowest degree they have is a bachelor's degree. Today's style is still up for debate. How much of what Su Hong said was true remained to be seen. The feud between Chen Yin and Chu Tianhua was probably far more interesting than what Su Hong and Gu Fengfeng said. That day, when Xiaowu saw little Chu, she beat him into a pig's head. Those Marshall brothers couldn't stop her. The bar was smashed into smithereens, but little Chu didn't even dodge or let anyone interfere. TSK, TSK. At that time, I thought that this guy was very infatuated. Only later did I know how badly he had tricked Xiaowu. He cheated her of her money and caused her to get into a fight and go to jail. Is there anything more serious than that? If that's all, then it's fine. Do you remember the bracelet that Xiaowu always wore when we were in jail? She treasured it like a treasure. I remember. Only later did I find out that the guy said that the bracelet was passed down by his deceased mother and was only passed down to his daughter-in-law. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan laughed dryly. A glass bracelet that cost 5 yuan on the street? Who was he kidding? That bracelet. I thought it was just something a little girl would wear for fun. At that time, everyone could see that the bracelet was a toy, but they didn't know that it had such a hidden meaning. So no one reminded Chen Yin. After being released from prison, Chen Yin went home and asked her brother and sister-in-law to help her find the bracelet. Only then did she realize that she had been fooled. That's not the worst part. Gu Fengfeng spat out a mouthful of melon seed shells and continued. When Xiaowu first saw Xiao Chu in the bar, he had just got engaged and his fiancée was beside him. It was no wonder that Chen Yin was indifferent to Mr. Chu now. Even if she had feelings for him, she had to consider the past. She didn't dare to be passionate about him anymore. After talking about the past, Chen Yin came in from outside and locked Mr. Chu outside. With tears in her eyes, she shouted, "Tonight we won't go home until we're drunk." The sisters reveled and opened 2 bottles of champagne. Dozens of different cocktails in the cart were gradually emptied. Ji Xiaoya, who was in the corner of the sofa, woke up and came to join the battle. Everyone present is a sad person, and they all have sad memories. Oh, I really can't drink anymore. My husband has called me more than 10 times. He said that my son won't sleep at night. I have to go home. Gu Fengfeng reached for her phone and apologized to everyone, but was stopped by Chen Yin. She said drunkenly, "Men are all bad. Third sister, you have to be careful of third brother-in-law. You drank too much. You drank too much." Su Hong pulled Chen Yin and pulled her hand away from Gu Fengfeng. She waved at Gu Fengfeng and said, "Go home and accompany your husband and child. Don't worry about us." Gu Fengfeng walked to the door and looked back repeatedly. She made up her mind, gritted her teeth, and returned to her seat. She opened a bottle of beer and said, "I'm going all out tonight. F***CK men, F***CK family, and F***CK children. We won't go home until we're drunk." At this age, she had a successful career and a beautiful family. The unbearable past of selling things had become a thing of the past. 2 years ago, at the Lanjiang City's Outstanding Entrepreneur Summit, there was a seat with her name on it. Her assistant could always write a script and let her go on stage to pretend to be a cultured person. Her husband said that she should rest, so she stayed at home and became a housewife. Her husband said that she should have a child, so she gave birth to the child and took care of her husband and children. Now, she didn't have to worry about food and clothes, but she missed the busy days 5 years ago. The sky gradually brightened. When she woke up, the noise in the bar dissipated, leaving only silence in the bar. Yi Huanyan's phone rang all night. She woke up and went to the bathroom with her phone. After washing her face, she yawned and answered the call. "What's the matter, brother? Where are you? You didn't answer the phone all night. Are you okay?" Yi Huanyan yawned and fixed her makeup in the mirror. She said unhappily, "I'm at the bar." "What's the matter?" "What bar?" "Old Times." Gucci's men didn't find you. Are you really okay? Gucci? Yi Huanyan's brain short-circuited for a moment. Xiao Yu and I are fine. Didn't I tell you last night? The matter has been resolved. What did you ask Gucci to do? The other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds. It's good that you're fine. Forget it. You don't have to worry about it. After coming out of the bathroom, Su Hong stretched and took a picture with her in the corridor with a pair of panda eyes. She raised her arms and gave her a big hug. Morning. Yi Huanyan smiled. Morning, Sister Hong. With your face and figure, you'll definitely be the best at my bar. Yi Huanyan knew that Su Hong was joking, so she simply played along. Okay, but you have to tell me how much your monthly salary is first. I'll consider it. The minimum salary is 100,000 yuan a month. The guests keep their own tips. You'll only sit at the bar and not receive them. You can choose to take 3 days off from Monday to Friday, work at night on the other 2 days, and work all day on Saturday and Sunday. How about it? Do you want to consider it? She sounded so serious. Yi Huanyan's face turned pale. Sister Hong, you sound like you're talking about that kind of business. Su Hong tapped her forehead and laughed. I'm just kidding. My sisters are even going to ban the business of accompanying people to sing. They're going to do a big renovation and build a tea house or theater. Nowadays, rich people like to pretend to be cultured. They're going to pay a lot of money for 2 cups of tea. I can't stand it. The two of them were joking when they heard a commotion in the lobby. What's the matter? Su Hong grabbed a waiter and asked. The waiter's face was pale as he stammered. Last night, 25 of our bar branches on North Street and Tonghui Street were smashed by the same group of people. They even detained people and cut off the phone lines. We just released the news. Our boss is still angry. He's already brought people with him and rushed over with weapons. What? Su Hong's eyes widened. Who's so bold? Are they crazy? I wonder who's backing Old Time? I'm not sure. I only know that the leader's surname is Gu. Chapter 357. Is his name Gucci? Yi Huanyan hurriedly interrupted the waiter. The waiter was stunned. I think that's his name. Su Hong looked at Yi Huanyan in surprise. How did you know? Yi Huanyan frowned and said with a wry smile, Would you believe me if I told you that it was because of a phone call that made mistake? After she told Su Hong the whole story, Su Hong's eyes widened. Who is your brother? He's so powerful that he dared to smash more than 20 bars just to find you? He's too reckless. Yi Huanyan sighed. My brother isn't usually like this. Last night, he didn't just look for me. He also looked for the girl who was drinking with us last night. She's my best friend. Smashing more than 20 bars with the same name as Old Times. One could imagine how angry Gusinian was when he received Ji Xiaoya's nonsense call last night. These men don't know how to cherish until the last moment. Su Hong sighed. These two sighs made Yi Huanyan suddenly think of something. She turned her eyes. Sister Hong, we drank so much from Boss Chu last night, and my brother smashed so many of his branches. Shouldn't we do something to help him? Chun Yin had just climbed up from the sofa when she heard a commotion outside. Chu Tinkwa's sidekick, Zhang Baoquan, scrambled in from outside. He covered one of his eyes and lay beside Chun Yin's feet. Sister Yin, something happened. Damn, what happened to your eye? Chun Yin was no longer sleepy. She jumped up from the sofa. Zhang Baoquan was covering one of his eyes, and blood kept oozing out. The back of his hand was bloody, and it was a ghastly sight. Don't worry about me. Boss was beaten up. Hearing this, Chun Yin's face turned pale. She said anxiously, Where? Is someone trying to cause trouble again? The second branch on North Street. His arm was dislocated. Before she could finish speaking, Chun Yin ran out like a gust of wind, leaving behind a room full of sisters and Zhang Baoquan, who was covering his eyes and using all his strength to put on an act. After Chun Yin left, Su Hong and Yi Huanyan opened their eyes from the sofa. Both of them held back their laughter as they looked at Zhang Baoquan, who was groaning on the ground. Zhang Baoquan put down his hand that was covering his eyes and giggled. "Sister Hong, my acting skills aren't bad, right?" Su Hong glanced at him. "All right, they've already left. I'll follow them later. You don't have to join in the fun. Go home and rest for the next 2 days." Yi Huanyan pulled out a wad of cash from her wallet and stuffed it into Zhang Baoquan's hand. "You acted well. This is a service fee." Zhang Baoquan was overjoyed. "Thank you, Sister Yan Yan. You can always look for me for this kind of thing in the future." After the scene was set, Zhuang Suqiu and Gu Fengfeng left first. Ji Xiaoye had a hangover the whole night. When she woke up, she was still dizzy and talking nonsense. Last night, she drank until dawn. In the end, she didn't even know what she was called and called herself Crayon Shinchan. Although she was awake now, Yi Huanyan was still worried about her going back alone. Su Hong waved her hand. "You go back with her. Leave the matter of Xiao Wu and Xiao Chu to me. Anyway, didn't you arrange it on your side? Let's keep in touch by phone." Yi Huanyan was relieved when Gu Qi was handling things. If this scene could make Chen Yin and Boss Chu reconcile, it would be a good deed. Ji Xiaoye was very dizzy. Yi Huanyan was worried that something would happen to her, so she took her to the hospital. After the examination, it was confirmed that her alcohol intake was seriously over the limit. She was waiting in the emergency department for infusion. After 2 bottles of medicine were given, she woke up slowly from the bed. Her lips were dry and cracked. She looked at Yi Huanyan with a haggard face. Her voice was very dry and hoarse. "I want to drink water." "Madam, you're finally awake." Yi Huanyan hurriedly handed her the water that had been poured by the side. After she drank half a glass, her throat felt a little better. Yi Huanyan sat by the bed and peeled an apple for her. She complained that she drank too much last night. It was too ridiculous. She stared blankly at the air in a daze. It was as if she was talking to herself. She said to herself, "You might not believe me, but in the 5 years that he was gone, I've never gotten drunk. I don't dare." Yi Huanyan's hand paused in peeling the apple. She looked at her in a daze. "It's only because you're back that I dare to indulge myself like this. In the past, when you weren't around and he wasn't around, everyone around me looked at me and waited to see me make a fool of myself. It was as if the slightest mistake would be a disgrace to the position of chief editor of Fengshang. Did you know that every time I was at a drinking party, I was afraid that I'd make a fool of myself if I drank too much, so I asked my assistant to secretly help me change the red wine into grape juice and the white wine into mineral water. I don't like this position, so I won't do it. But do you know? Only when I'm in this position will I often appear in the news and let him see it. Actually, I'm also quite a capable person. I'm not completely unworthy of him. I always feel that one day he might see a report about me in the news, but I don't know which one it will be. So I can only make sure that every report about me is perfect enough. Xiaoyu, but in fact, maybe he doesn't care at all. He has never cared." This was the real reason why she had been suppressing herself for the past 5 years. She rambled on about some of the things that she didn't say last night when she was drunk. Yi Huanyan felt uncomfortable listening to her. She couldn't wait to call Gu Xinian over right now and let him hear what she had done. "I've thought it through. It's been 5 years. It's time to let go." Ji Xiaoye stared at Yi Huanyan in a daze. The corners of her mouth gradually curled up. She was a little stiff and a little forced, but she had used up all her strength. "From now on, I want to live for myself." After the 2 bottles of 4 drips were finished, the nurse came over to test her blood alcohol level. She said that there were some problems with the blood test, but she didn't know what the problem was. She still needed to stay in the hospital for 2 days for observation, so she was transferred to a normal ward. Yi Huanyan held the blood test report in her hand and frowned as she looked at the blood test results. "What do you mean by the blood test results are abnormal?" "Don't worry first. This situation has happened before. It might not be a blood lesion. At present, we can't rule out the possibility that the test results are inaccurate because of a high blood alcohol level. So we have to wait until tomorrow to do the test again. The doctor looked calm, as if he was talking about something very normal. Although the possibility is not high, family members should still be mentally prepared. Mentally prepared for what? Yi Huanyin's face stiffened. According to this indicator, if these indicators don't return to normal after tomorrow's test, it's very likely to be blood cancer. Yi Huanyin's body swayed. Her face was pale. She suppressed the shock in her heart and asked, "How likely is it?" 30%. Chapter 358. This possibility has nothing to do with the possibility of blood abnormalities. It's just the accuracy of the blood test after drinking. If the patient has been on a diet for a long time, the accuracy of the blood test will decrease. So this test result can't be used as a standard for judgment. The doctor, who looked to be in his early 30s, pushed his black-rimmed glasses with a serious expression. "What do you mean?" Yi Huanyin was still frightened by the 30% possibility. "It means that she's not the only one with problems. The 10 drunk patients who were sent here last night all had problems. They're staying in the hospital for observation so that they can redo the blood test to rule out the lesions. There's no need to worry too much." Yi Huanyin let out a long breath. "Doctor, can you finish your sentence in one go? You're scaring me to death. But you still have to be prepared. After all, birth, old age, illness, and death are natural disasters. No one can be sure. The hospital and the doctor can't guarantee that you'll be fine. Doctor, do you want me to be relieved or worried?" "Half and half." Yi Huanyin's mouth twitched, and she was speechless. It was equivalent to not saying anything. Fortunately, after the doctor's interruption, Yi Huanyin more or less knew that the blood test results did not count. The doctor said all this in confusion because he wanted her to wait for Ji Xiaoya's alcohol level to drop and cooperate with the hospital to redo the blood test. This was to prevent the hospital from taking responsibility in the future if the blood test was not accurate. "Stay in the hospital obediently. I still have to keep an eye on the film studio. I'll bring Na Neo to see you in the afternoon." Ji Xiaoya nodded dispiritedly, looking haggard. "If I knew that you were so restrained with your diet, who would want to take you to a nightclub to drink? Not only did you hurt your stomach, I even thought that I would be responsible for a human life." "What human life? Are you cursing me to death?" "Nothing. Lie down. I'm leaving." Yi Huanyin could not be bothered to tell her more about groundless things, lest she let her imagination run wild again. After leaving the hospital, it was still early. The teacher in the preschool called to inform the park that the afternoon was off and that parents should pick up their children. During this period of time, Ji Xiaoya's assistant had been in charge of Na Neo's affairs. However, Ji Xiaoya was lying in the hospital at the moment, and her assistant was acting on her behalf. She was probably very busy in the company. Lanjiang City Bilingual Kindergarten. Yi Huanyin was wearing a khaki windbreaker and white sneakers. She was dressed very casually, and her slender and fair legs looked very well proportioned. Na Neo broke free from the teacher's hands and plunged into her arms. "Mommy, why are you free to pick me up today? Where's Godmother?" Yi Huanyin pinched his little face and said with a smile, "Your godmother is in the hospital. She has no time to take care of you today, so you can only follow me." "Hospitalized? I'm going to see Godmother." "Hey, whose son are you?" Yi Huanyin complained as she held his hand and walked out. "How could there be such a son?" "Your godmother will be discharged from the hospital in the afternoon. I'll bring you to pick her up then. Now, I'll have to trouble you to come with me. I'll have to trouble you to stay with me on set. I have something to do." "What about lunch?" Na Neo blinked and looked at her. "There are packed lunches on set. I want to go see Godmother. The food in the hospital is not as good as the packed lunches on set. Don't even think about it." After saying this, Yi Huanyin carried him to the back seat and said, Buckle the safety seat belt yourself. Just as she was about to close the door, a familiar voice came from behind. Sister Yan Yan, Yi Huanyan turned around and saw Zheng Ro holding her daughter Jingjing's hand and walking quickly towards her. I knew it was Na-Neo from the back. I didn't expect you to have time to pick up the child. Isn't the crew very busy? It's quite busy. We're going to the set after picking up Na-Neo. Do you want to come with us? Me? Zheng Ro was a little hesitant. Won't I disturb you? Yi Huanyan raised her wrist and looked at the time. No, it's time for lunch. We'll rest for 2 hours. You can go and see Sun Yanhua. Qianqian hasn't seen Daddy for a few days, right? Jingjing nodded her head obediently with an aggrieved look on her face. Mommy said that Daddy always comes home too late at night and I'm already asleep. Then he leaves too early in the morning and I'm still asleep. Then come with me to see Daddy, okay? Really? Jingjing's eyes lit up. Yi Huanyan looked up at Zheng Ro and persuaded. Xiaoro, let's go. Our child wants to see Daddy. We can't be unsatisfied. This month, we're still filming in the university town. Next month, we'll be moving to Hujiang. Finally, we'll have to go to France to shoot. Wouldn't it be even harder for you to see him? Zheng Ro nodded. She seemed to have thought of something. She suddenly looked up and said, Then please take Jingjing there first. I'll go back home to get something. Okay. Yi Huanyan agreed without thinking. Na-Neo was naturally happy to see Jingjing. He took the initiative to fasten the seat for her and even played the game in his hand with her. Usually, even Gu Sinian could not touch his precious game. Lanjiang University Town. During the non-weekend, university students came and went. They were all full of youthful energy. Yi Huanyan parked the car and walked towards the university campus, with one child in each hand. The car was parked in front of a 5-story building with the longest history in the southeast corner of Lanjiang University of Business and Economics. It was originally a teaching building, but after a long time, the facilities could not keep up. It was only used as a self-study room for students. Now, the activities inside were mostly school clubs. It was in a semi-abandoned state. When Yi Huanyan arrived with the 2 children, it was not yet lunchtime. The scene was in the middle of filming. The scene was about the reunion of the female lead with the male lead on the university campus after she returned to China. Qian suddenly broke free from Yi Huanyan's hand and ran into the shooting range. She hugged Sun Yanhua's leg and shouted, Daddy. Everyone was speechless beside them. The Team B director's face froze. He raised his hand and was about to shout cut when he was stopped by the assistant director. The assistant director glanced at him and gestured for him to continue filming. Everyone looked toward the camera and saw a woman in a khaki trench coat barge into the scene. She only showed her back to the camera as she lowered her head and pulled the little girl away from Sun Yanhua's leg. She said apologetically, Sir, I'm sorry. My daughter mistook you for someone else. Sun Yanhua's stiff expression softened a little. He said calmly, It's fine. Cut. The assistant director raised his hand, his silver hair fluttering in the wind. He praised, Screenwriter Gu did a good job in this scene. Nian, there's a problem with your it's fine. Let's do it again. Screenwriter Gu can leave now. Take the children and do a close-up shot of Nian looking at Nine Eyes back. Yi Huanyan nodded hurriedly. She pulled Jingjing and left the set. When she was leaving, she even turned back and tilted her head at Sun Yanhua, waving her hand to signal him to continue. Sun Yanhua nodded and gave Qian a secret signal that was unique to both father and daughter. Qian laughed out loud and obediently followed Yi Huanyan to the side. You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.